We have a quorum, yes.
Ready.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 13th, 2022 reorganization meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. This is a regular meeting. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. This is being broadcast live on channel 34, Montclair TV, and remotely on YouTube. To participate via computer or mobile device, access the Cisco web event at the meeting link, which is up on the screen. And you can also access this agenda on the municipal website. So, Tommy, could you please call the roll?
No, I gotta help him.
Yes, I can. Just got to make sure I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Ms. Bennett,
Present.
Mr. Hindman, Mr. Rooney, Mr. Reimnitz,
Good to see you.
Here.
Glad to have you here. All right.
Mr. Graham,
Here.
Mr. Grinkin,
Here.
Mr. Sweeney,
Here.
Ms. Rubman,
Present.
and then do we have Tom Connolly, the preservation consultant,
Here.
and Mr. Burr?
Here.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Can I just remind everyone to keep keep on mute unless you're speaking, so we can minimize the excess noise. So for the reorganizational part of the meeting, but before we start that, I'd like to welcome our 3 new commissioners and also to thank 2 commissioners that served valiantly, I should say, for the past couple of years. Carolyn Kane Levy and David Greenbaum. They had preservation in their hearts. So, Tommy, could you begin with the election of the chair? Call
Yes.
for his name.
Yes, I can. Does somebody on the commission wish to nominate somebody for chair for 2022?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Kathleen Bennett as chair.
I'd second.
Who was that seconded?
That's Mike Graham.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Hearing none. All in favor of Kathleen Bennett as chair?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, Kathleen Bennett has been elected chair of the HPC for 2022 unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you for your confidence.
Congrats, Chair.
I'd like to call for a name now for vice chair. Nominations from the floor for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Jason Hindman for vice chair.
May we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any other names to be put forward? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jason. Hyman,
you.
there you are, vice chair for another year. Thank you very much.
Congrats.
As secretary, we have, according to our bylaws, we nominate a secretary that takes care of all of our informational and things going on. So could I have a nomination from the floor? Our assistant planner has been doing it historically. So may we have a nomination from the floor?
Yes, I'd like to nominate the assistant planner, William Tommy Scabilia.
I second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tommy. And now assistant secretary, we have the planner has served as assistant secretary, which would be Janice Talley. So may we have, I guess we have to nominate her as well. So may I have a nomination from the floor?
I'll nominate Ms. Talley.
I
Second?
second.
I'll second. Oh,
Great. Any other names put forward?
Can I ask who seconded that motion?
3 people
I
did.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 people at the same time.
So was that
I'll third, I'll third it.
I'll
Okay.
concede to John. John was
Okay.
second.
Okay, great, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Before we go to subcommittee assignments, I'd like to just announce that we're going to have a change in the agenda tonight, and we're going to move the resolution appointing Connolly and Hickey as our HPC consultants. So because we are hearing 2 new cases tonight and we need them on board. So we have the resolution. I understand there was a problem that people did not get their packets. I know I didn't get mine. Was everyone able to pull these things off the internet and read them, or Tommy did send them via email? Has everyone had a chance to read the resolution to appoint Connolly?
Yes.
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 Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to accept this resolution as written?
Motion to accept the resolution is written.
And Mr. Graham, thank you. Second?
Second
I don't know who that was.
is Vice Chair.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Be happy to serve for another year as your HPC consultant.
Now we go to subcommittee assignments. Tommy, could you read what our committees are? And we ask that people, it's volunteer. We have 5 committees, and sometimes we have special committees that are just temporary. So we, as chair, I sit as a honorary. I come in on the meetings, but we do need people on these committees. They're very important to the essential running of the HPC. Tommy, could you go through the list of and explain what the committees are, and we can ask people to volunteer?
Yeah, sure. I may need, Kathleen, I may need you to help supplement what I say, because some of these subcommittees, since I'm so new, I haven't dealt with yet.
Oh, sure.
so-
And may I just mention before you start, I don't think, Tommy, you sent out the packet, the notebook to the new commissioners yet, correct?
That's correct. We're going to be doing it next week. The
Okay,
welcome
so
kit.
just so the new commissioners know that you'll be getting a binder with the Historic Preservation Ordinance, our bylaws, our schedule, our members, and also the committees. In case you forget which one you're on, you can always volunteer anew. So the first one we have is the Design Review and Redevelopment Committee, and these people are responsible for advising and assisting the Development Review Committee, the Planning Board, and Board of Adjustment when requested on all matters, including pending applications for development and the development of redevelopment plans which have potential impact on the historic buildings, structures, objects, sites, or districts in the township, or on the physical character and ambiance of any portion of the township or region. I know that Mr. Rooney was on this committee last year. Would anyone like to volunteer for this? It's not onerous. It's not a lot of extra time on this.
Is Steve still on the planning board as well?
No, Mike Graham is our liaison. So Mike, you might be the natural fit for this.
Sure, I'd be happy to do it, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we have Michael Graham. Education and Outreach Committee. The Education Outreach Committee is responsible for increasing public awareness of the value of historic, architectural, and cultural preservation by developing and participating in public information programs. The committee also ensures information is available to residents of historic buildings or districts concerning guidelines for rehabilitation and design criteria for new construction. In the past, this has included a combined effort with the Montclair History Center and the Public Library on a Researching Your Home. It also includes talks to, I gave a talk to the Montclair History Center on the Nolan plan, and just basically to talk up the preservation and what it means to the town and how important it is to Montclair. I know last year I was on this and Steve Rooney were on this. Are there any new members that would like to volunteer?
I just had a question as an alternate. Am I allowed to serve on a committee since I don't have voting rights unless we don't have a quorum?
Oh, that's a good question. Mr. Burr, can you
Yes,
answer that?
yes, alternates are permitted to serve on committees.
Great,
Okay, well then I would love to be on the outreach committee.
great. Thank you.
For you.
Okay. Landmark Nomination Committee. Landmark Nomination Committee is responsible for proposing to the commission those buildings, structures, objects, sites, and districts located within the township, which it has found to be worthy of landmark designation. The committee also assists in the preparation of nomination reports for buildings, structures, objects, sites, and districts located within the township, and research evaluation of them for their significance in accordance with the criteria established and set forth in Montclair Code 347-135. And this committee also includes, we've been very fortunate that we've been recipients of some grants in the past, a couple of 3 or 4, and we're working on 2. Because we're a certified local government, we are eligible for grants from the SHPO office in the state. So there are a couple that I'll describe that what's been done with them further on in the meeting, but it's a very interesting committee. I think Steve Rooney and I've been on this as well. Is anyone interested in sitting on this that would be working with grants, either current grants that we're working on now or ideas for future grants for preservation in Montclair?
Chairwoman, I have a question.
Sure.
Do we do the grant writing, and who administers the grants and handles the grant administration?
Well, we're working on one right now, and Mr. Sibilia will be writing it. It's a form that the state actually provides. So we have to come up with the idea and then plug it into the state. Administration is through the planning department, which would be Tommy, and whoever takes I guess I hate to say ownership, but takes the initiative to be the liaison between the planning department and the public or the commission. So that's how we've done it in the past.
So that the township receives the funds, and then the Historic Preservation Commission oversees the program design. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, with the planning department. It has to be the planning department.
Gotcha.
Which is Tommy, our secretary.
Okay. Well, I have a ton of grant experience, as you can probably tell from my questions. So I am delighted to help on the committee.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Then we have thank you very much. We have the Minor Application Review Committee, and the Minor Application Committee conducts reviews of minor applications for certificate of appropriateness. Minor applications are those requests for approval of fences, signs, awnings, lighting, paving, or streetscapes, which will not substantially affect the characteristic of the historic landmark or the historic district, and do not involve an addition, demolition, new construction, relocation, or removal of a historic landmark or property in a historic landmark district. If the minor application subcommittee finds the application appropriate, the subcommittee may act in place of the full commission without the necessity of a public hearing and is authorized to issue a certificate of appropriateness. If the minor application subcommittee does not find the application appropriate, the application shall be scheduled for a public hearing before the full commission. And the public hearing before the full commission are the monthly meetings that we do in the evening, such as now. The minor application committee meets virtually. We usually have one meeting a month, and it really is when people, Tommy will set up a virtual meeting, and then we decide, it's usually been signs, because we have a sign ordinance that we have to be aware of and make sure that it fits within the historic district. So I believe that, Mr. Hyman, you were on this last year, correct?
Yes, and I'll continue on that, but we'll need someone to replace Caroline.
Right.
I would volunteer for that.
Great, thank you, John. And then finally, we have the revisions committee. This committee has standards for review of all applications for certificates of appropriateness for rehabilitation, new construction, demolition, and relocation of historic landmark or property in a historic landmark district. In addition, the commission, that's the revisions committee. And what we do with the revisions committee is if we have an application that comes before us and there's conditions that we feel need to be addressed more fully or fleshed out more in the application, the revisions committee rather usually meets on site, and we go over the application. The revisions committee is also responsible to approve all the materials that and lighting that which come usually at the end of a project. And we usually meet on site for that as well. I know Mr. Reimnitz was on this in the past. I hope he continues.
I'd like to continue. Yeah.
Great. And is there anyone else that would like to volunteer for this? It's a very interesting, Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, it's a good, you get to see projects on site. It's sort of interesting.
Right. Mr. Sweeney, great. All right, so I think that's what all the committees we have. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have approval of minutes. Was everyone able to download a copy of the December 16th, 2021 minutes and review them? Are there any changes or addendums to the minutes?
I reviewed. I didn't have any revisions or amendments. So unless anybody else wants to suggest anything, I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve as drafted.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Since I wasn't at the meeting, I can't really comment.
Oh, no.
So
Understand.
I can't,
Abstain.
I'm assuming I shouldn't vote, which I don't know how that
That's
affects
right.
quorum for voting.
That's right.
I'm going
Right.
to, for this item, I'm going to call roll just so I can hear the abstentions clearly. So whoever wasn't there will abstain just for the record. So it's easier for me to keep track of the vote. So when we're ready.
Actually,
Okay, so
is Steve on?
did
So
we
I
hear
think
it?
it would just
Did
be
we have-
you and I and Mike, correct?
I was not at last month's meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was, yeah, I have to abstain.
John, were you there?
John was there,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's
yes.
just the three of us.
right.
You have any changes, John?
No,
All right, I'll make a motion to approve as drafted.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
so,
Oh,
Three- the three
just
of
one
us.
comment before we move on. Tommy, great job with the minutes, very thorough. Because we do record them, you don't have to go into as much detail. You just have to reference in the minutes where those discussions took place. Just provide the time stamp for the YouTube link. It might just make your job a little bit easier, but
Okay,
otherwise,
actually,
it's great.
Our cable television person bookmarks them for us already.
So-
But I'll try to take more general notes. That's actually A relief, thank you.
Mhm.
So Tommy, we have 3 people who are eligible to vote on this. And then are you going to call a roll for the names?
I was able to follow that one pretty easily, so I'm not going to call roll. I votes from Ms. Bennett, Mr. Hindman, and Mr. Reimnitz, and abstentions from everybody else.
Okay, great. Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment? Tommy, can you see anybody in the public that wants to call in and comment?
We do have some attendees, so I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to, it looks like nobody is muted. I'm not able to unmute any of the attendees. So it looks like maybe their mics are just deactivated. But I'll leave it, we can leave this open for a few seconds if you'd like to see if anybody says anything.
Yes.
Oh, it looks like we have someone is calling in. They're muted. Okay, hold on one second. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. If you're watching on another device, if you could mute that device, if you're on a phone.
Yep, I left the event.
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
Very good. My name's Stephen Moranis, 109 Union Street, Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay, Mr. Moranis.
I don't know if anybody can hear me. I don't hear anything on that side.
Mr. Burr, does he need to state his address for the record?
Yes, 109 Union Street.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Moranis.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope this finds everybody healthy and well going through these days. I just have a quick couple questions, not having anything to do with my home, but just simply some process. My first question would probably be to Mr. Connolly, if that's okay, just in terms of process. With regards to the last couple meetings, I don't know if I have the dates correct, but I think the last meeting that happened, you had to leave briefly, and you were only there for about 5 minutes because you had something to attend to. I think that was the December meeting. Someone can probably confirm that for me. But the question, I guess, is that one of the things you mentioned along the way was that you reached out to the owners of this building to schedule a site visit. Is that something that is a common practice?
It depends on the application and, yeah, it depends on the application.
Okay, that's enough for me. Here's another question for you. I'll move on to that. Ms. Bennett, if I can ask you a question. Were you aware that the terms of David Greenbaum and Caroline Kane Levy ended on December 31st, 2020?
It's public knowledge.
It is. So was there a resolution made to extend their terms?
Mr. Burr, is that commonly done in the Township of Montclair?
I can't answer that right now. I will have to get back to the board with that information.
So I guess the follow-up on that question, Ms. Bennett, is, were you aware that their terms
As I
were,
stated before, it's public knowledge.
Were you in fact aware that they ended? They were. It's public. Where is it? Where is that publicly posted?
I just want to remind the commissioners, this is public comment and they don't have to answer any questions that they don't feel comfortable answering.
Okay.
Very good. So, Ms. Bennett, I would ask you, was there any kind of motion that you made to, in terms of people who you met from January to December of 2021, was there anything that you said or mentioned to these people that 2 of these people who were sitting on these commission meetings were in fact possibly, and I don't know the answer to that, possibly ineligible to vote?
Mr. Burr, can I state that that was public knowledge?
Yes, you can. And Mr. Moranis, if you can continue on.
Yes, sir. Oh, no, I was really just a question if Ms. Bennett was able to answer that, because I would think, and obviously this is a committee that is representing the town of Montclair, that the people who are in front of them, that maybe ethically they should know that the people sitting there may or may not be legally allowed to vote.
Well,
Okay, thank you for your comment.
That's really all I wanted to know.
thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comment.
Thank you for your comment.
Thanks very much.
Mhm. Tommy, do we have anybody else? You're mute, Tommy.
Sorry, I believe everybody is still currently unmuted.
Yeah, there's a hand raise function in the participants attendees box. I don't see anybody who's activated their raised hand.
Okay.
I also do not.
Okay, thank you. So having no other people telephoning into Tommy, we will move on. Public comment is closed now. We will move forward to committee reports. So the people that have just volunteered, this would be a good time to listen to what we've been doing. And again, thank you for your future service. The first thing is the education and outreach. We do award preservation awards in May, Preservation Month, so that will be coming up soon, and we'll have something on the website. I believe we have 3 categories. Minor applications met on December 23rd. There were 4 applications. They were all for signage. One was on Madison Reed on Bloomfield Avenue. One was Jackie's Grillette on Valley Road. One was Basil on Watchung Avenue, and one was World Flats on Church Street. They were all approved with, I think 2 were approved with conditions and 2 were approved as is. So that's the minor applications. Revisions Committee will be meeting next Tuesday on 83 Park Street. So John, you were notified of that, right, Mr.
Yes.
Hyman? You, right? Yeah.
I'll be there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then we have a grants update, which I've asked Tommy to update because there's a lot going on in that area. Can you update us on those, Tommy?
Yeah, sure. So we have our 2021 grant, which we've just put the RFP out for. I believe last week we sent it directly to 3 firms that we've worked with in the past that we know do good work. We've posted it to our website, and then it's also been posted on the National Trust's website as well. And then we are in the process of creating an application for our fiscal year 2022 grant, which with the grant committee we decided would be resurveying of the town center historic district and looking at potential expansions to the west and slightly to the north in the center portion of the site. So we're working on that application now. It's due next week, so we'll be sending that in next week, and then we should hear, I think, a couple months down the road whether we get the grant money or not.
Thank you. And you should mention that the 2021 grant is a historic structure survey of what was determined to be the Upper Montclair commuter area, which has, I believe, over 500 structures on it. Correct, Tommy? I mean, there are many structures.
614 is the figure that's cited. Yeah,
Okay.
Quite a few.
Okay. And just to bring everyone up to date, the discussion of the grant that we're working on now, the adoption of the Montclair Residential Historic Design Guidelines, I'd like to postpone that to next month because we've, from Mr. Connolly, we received his edits, and there's a number of edits that we have to do on it. Most of them are minor, but I've also heard from 2 people just today, in fact, that I think we need to look more closely into one of the areas, which is what triggers a C of A application. So Ms. Rubin, yes, we're looking forward to having you working on that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Hey,
So,
Kathleen, I had,
yes.
had prepared some comments to that document.
Oh, great.
And since we're not having that discussion, can I forward that over to Tom for him to take a look at?
Yes.
And to the extent that they're, you know, duplicative, or if he can address those and incorporate that into his working draft, that would be a little bit easier for everybody to review than having different comments from different people in multiple documents.
Okay,
Does that
good.
make sense on your end, Tom?
Are you asking me or
We're-
Mr. Connolly? Sorry, I just want
Oh, Mr. Connolly.
Tom Connolly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yep.
So just for everyone's knowledge, there's a draft document posted on the website, and that's the one that we'll be working on. We're also currently reviewing another grant that we received, which is the Estate Area Historic Survey. That's a huge document, which we haven't even really tackled yet. So we'll be doing that as well. Okay. So going on to old business, last month, and in the minutes that Tommy wrote, which were very thorough, there were some concerns about the demolition ordinance and how maybe that could be amended. So there were a few very great ideas in that. I'd like to have a subcommittee formed that would go over those ideas that were in the minutes and then present it to the entire commission next month, including anything that additional. Would anyone like to volunteer? Jason, I'm looking at you.
I volunteer.
Perfect. Okay, great. So John and Jason Hindman.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
and
so-
if I could chime in really quickly just to try to understand how the subcommittee fits into the process with
Right.
the department as well. Because we've done a little bit of work behind the scenes already. So if I could just go through, I have kind of a list of some of the questions that were asked the last meeting about this ordinance that I can go through really quickly if you'd like, and it touches on amendments to the ordinance as well.
Yes, and are those the ones that were included in the minutes that you wrote? Or are they additional?
I think this is I don't think I put any of this in the minutes because it wasn't discussed at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
This is something that we discussed internally, so I can start to go through it if it's something that you remember being in the minutes. You can cut me off.
Okay, no, please.
Okay, great. So one of the questions that was asked, is it possible to have, and Kathleen, I know I talked to you about some of this already, is it possible to require applicants for total demolition to post a sign on their property, notifying the public of a public hearing on the total demolition application? And the answer to that is, in consultation with our assistant city attorney, is that no, we can't do that because that's a stricter requirement than the notice requirements in the municipal land use law for the state. And we can't surpass those essentially. So we can't. Another question was, can we require that applicants notify property owners within 200 feet of their property of a total demolition application? And we believe that yes, that is possible. We're working on amendments to the ordinance right now that we can review with the subcommittee. I suppose that's being formed now. So we're working on adding language to that effect to the demolition portion of the ordinance. Another question was, can there be a requirement to provide the estimated cost of demolition or abatement work that's required for a total demolition project, as that is not a specific item that's required currently. And again, yes, we're working on adding an item to that section of the ordinance to require that information. And then we're working on language for a requirement to, this is typically implied with development applications that are submitted, but we're working on adding explicit language to specify that applicants are required to work with the township and the township's professionals to coordinate site visits for those applications as well. Again, that's always been, I think, implied as part of the development process, but now we're going to try to codify it essentially. In that process, we'll work with the subcommittee, but there's, it's a long process to amend the zoning ordinance. It's not something that will happen anytime in the immediate future, but we are working on it. And then this is a little bit unrelated, but it was also brought up, was it's tangentially related, having an engineer for the HPC. And that we're working on an RFP currently that we'll share with you, Kathleen, once we've kind of worked it out on our end, that we can post and get some proposals from.
Get some help out there. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. So that would
Tommy?
essentially, it's in essence be another consultant, correct?
Yes, and it's not necessarily a sure thing. I mean, we have to look at how much, the proposals come back at, and whether we need to amend the fee ordinance to include an escrow, things like that. So, but we've started that process on the back end, and we can share more of that with you as we progress.
Is there anything else?
That's all I had.
No, that's great. Those are the things that were touched on in the minutes as well. So if you could send that over to Jason and John as well, and they can, if they think of anything else, we can add it to our next meeting, okay, for discussion at next month.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or comments about, who's not sitting on this subcommittee, about the demolition ordinance that you might like to see possibly discussed or brought up at this point? No?
Chair, did we get a determination on whether we could require them to submit plans so we would know what they were going to replace it with after demolition?
I believe that that's a good point. And I believe Ms. Talley last month, it's in your minutes, it's in the minutes that 1 and 2 family homes are exempt from site plan review. So in some cases, the HPC may not review new proposals on sites where there has been a demolition. And that would be the first demolition that we heard, which was on St. Luke's Place. However, the demolition that we're hearing tonight, which is the VA on Bloomfield Avenue, we will be able to to discuss that design, because that's in a historic district. Okay.
And to add on to that, there's no requirement that they submit conceptual plans for what will be built there. And in the case tonight, which we'll see, there are conceptual plans, but we did discuss you can't tie any conditions of the approval of the demolition to a conceptual plan that was presented, because it will be reviewed as a separate application, which will come to the HPC again, unless it's a one.
If it's in a historic district, it'll come to the HPC. If not, we're out of luck, right? Okay.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And you'll review it basically as a brand new application at that point.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so why don't we continue on to new business. And for the new people on the commission, I just want to go over the meeting order, what we follow. First, I introduce the application. Then we get introduced to the applicant. We listen to the applicant's evidence. The commissioners then ask questions of the applicant or their representatives, and I believe everyone tonight may ask questions. We then open it up to the public if there's any questions from the public, and the public can ask questions. If there is an objector, they can present their objection, a rebuttal by the objectors, and then a rebuttal by the applicant. Then we listen to Tom Connolly, who is our HPC consultant, always writes these wonderful memos that we are privy to. So I hope everyone's gotten copies of the memos that the two that they wrote tonight. He goes over his memo and explains, what is in that memo. And then the commissioners have commissioner discussion. We go down the line. I just ask everybody to really keep their remarks and their questions to the point, and 3 to 5 minutes if possible. At the end of all that, there's another public comment. So, and tonight we have 2 new applications, one of which is a certificate of appropriateness. That's the second one. But the first one is a referral from the zoning board. And the refer from the zoning board, we will hear what is being proposed, and then we give recommendations that the zoning board then listens to, and hopefully, takes our recommendations. And they're the ones that make the decision. So we will not be making the decision on referrals. We get referrals from either the zoning board or the planning board. However, the next application, which is the demolition on Bloomfield Avenue, we will be voting on that tonight. So I just hope that that's clear for everybody. And of course, if there's any questions throughout the process, don't hesitate to ask. So the new business, the first new business is referral from the zoning board, application 2778, which is 136 Upper Mountain Avenue, Ryan Deblis. It's an application for a fencing variance. The subject property is located within the Mountain Historic District and consists of a circa 1910, 2 1/2 story, 4-bay brick L-shaped lake classical revival house with eclectic details. A horseshoe driveway is located off Edgewood Road, and both entrances are flanked by brick stone cap piers. A detached brick 2-car garage is located behind the home in the northwest corner of the property. The property was individually surveyed as part of Preservation Montclair, and the property was also admitted to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. The architects are Grosvenor Atterbury and Leslie Walker. Okay. Thank you. Now, Tommy, did you get any additional information from the applicant?
We did. We received information from the architect today that we have ready to go as soon as they're ready to speak. We have the architect on. I believe we also have the homeowner on, and it looks like both of them are panelists, but neither of them look like they have active mics currently. So Mr. Aduanmi and Ms. Deblis, if you could unmute yourselves.
Oh, Mr. Rooney's here. Hello, Mr. Rooney. Are applicants able to speak?
I see their mics are still not active, so they should be able to unmute themselves and turn their video on, as they are now panelists. So I see Christy Deblis and Babatunde Aduanmi, the architect.
So just to be clear, you didn't send these to us via email either. This is the first viewing for everyone.
I believe I sent the planning report. Okay, it looks like the architect's mic is active. I'm going to unmute him.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, yes, how are you? Good morning. Say good morning, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And just let me know what of the exhibits you'd like me to pull up. You sent me several. I have them all ready to go. Just let me know.
We would like to start with the one that is the plan that was submitted to the town.
Do we need the other panelists to be available before we start, or are we able to proceed?
Yeah, so my next question is, if they're both on, we need them to be sworn in as well.
Again, Miss Deblis, her mic is not active. So unless she makes it active somehow, she's not going to be able to be sworn in. But you can swear in the architect.
Oh, okay. Mr. Berg, usually can you do the honors?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay, again, what's the architect's name?
My name is Babatunde Adewumi.
Do you solemnly swear?
Adewumi.
I see you now. I couldn't see you before. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mr. I'm going
The homeowner looks like they're active now.
Oh, okay. Mr. Blees, are you ready to be sworn in?
I just saw the mic was active. I just unmuted their mic.
Mr. Blees, are you able to?
Mic looks like it's on and active. Don't hear anything though.
Is there a visual?
Not that I can tell.
So, Mr. Architect, is your client prepared to give testimony?
Yes, the only thing the client will be talking about is a brief description of his property and the intent of why we're here and why we decided to install a 6-foot high fence. It's mainly because of health reasons, because every time that they walk around, it's not like they don't like the deer, but there's deer poop everywhere. And then because of the kids and dogs, because the dog actually goes there and eat the deer poop, which is very, very unhealthy, because they had to take the dog to the clinics a couple of times because of that. And then they have kids also that come to the property, which is family members and everything. And then going around the area with a lot of deer poop is of concern to them. So that's why they decided to put a well open fence around the property, so that the view of the property will not be obscured. And then that's where we are today. And then the thing I would like to do, I don't know if Mr. Deblis would like to say anything after me, or I should go ahead and describe the plan that we're submitting to the Historic Committee today. You guys want me to continue?
Is this the plan, Tommy?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
why
the
don't you,
This is said yes. Sorry, I was muted.
why don't you describe there's one page of this plan?
No, it's a 4-page plan. And I'm going to go one by one. Can we start from C1, please?
Sure, yeah. Just tell me when you want me to switch pages and I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. The first page pretty much describe our intent, which is we're proposing a new 6-foot high perimeter fence. And then on the right side of the title is what I call the project data, describe the area of the property, the zone in which it's located, which is an arrow zone. And then the other thing right underneath it is the zoning chart. We are here primarily because in Montclair, the allowable height for a perimeter fence is 54 inches, which is 4.5 feet. but we're proposing 6 feet, a 6 feet fence. So we're requiring a variance. And according to the planner's report, he also said that we may be needing variance for the height of the piers also, because what is allowed in an arrow mountainside zone is a 6 foot high pier, but we are proposing 7.34. So those are the two variances that we are looking into today. As you can see towards the right of the same drawing, which is C1, it shows the zoning, what they call it, that's the zone in which the property is being located. And then as you scroll down on the same page, it gives us the list of drawings and everything. We can go to the next page now. The next page is pretty much the existing survey. It shows the enclosure of the property, the meets and bounds, and then the location of the actual physical building, and then with the horseshoe driveway, which if you're on Edgewater, you turn into it, and then you come out on the other side. And there's a detached driveway, garage also on the property. And then if you zoom in a little bit, the same page, C2. You can see that, anyway, I can probably explain that later, because you can see the front of the property, which I wrote Upper Mountain Avenue. And then on the left side is the Edgewood Road. And then as you look at the property from Upper Mountain Avenue, you could see that there's some steps that leads into a brick terrace before you get into the house. Once we get to the picture that was initially shown by Tommy, we can see exactly how the terrace look like in front of the house. And to the right of my, can you zoom into that? Into your picture? You can see that there's an even slope from the beginning of the road, that is Upper Mountain Avenue, and as you get closer to the house, then there's a big jump in terms of the slope before you get to the terrace of the building. And to the right side, if you go back to C1, C2, sorry, C2. On the right side here, there is an existing aluminum fence right from the corner belonging to the neighbor. So what we plan to do is match the same fence on the right side and at the back. But the height of the fence that we're proposing will be 6 feet high. And then on the, I think we can go to the next drawing. That will show the same thing, which is C3. C3, I have 2 drawings, one showing the existing conditions, which I just described previously. And then on the right side is what we're proposing. We can see that we're putting in a fence all the way, starting from the right side, is going to be an aluminum fence that runs from the back all the way to the front. And then the front is going to be on Upper Mountain Avenue. It's going to be a wrought tire fence, in which there's some couple of details that I will explain later. Our intent also, which we didn't show on this particular drawing after we developed the rendering for it, is that we also be installing additional piers in the middle of each one of them. So we're going to have 3 more piers in the front. When we get to the rendering, we'll show exactly our intent. And then as you go towards the left of the property, which is on Edgewood Road, you see there are 2 piers, and after that, the next pier is the one that's going to be a small gate that it's going to be a walk-through gate, and then the next gate is going to be a vehicular gate. And then on the other side also is going to be a vehicular gate. So it can be closed at any time or it can be left open depending on what the owner chooses to do. And then the fence will run all the way, the wrought iron fence will run all the way to the corner. At the back corner here, at the back corner of the property, throughout the back corner of the property is going to be an aluminum fence, and on the right side of the property. Everywhere that is facing the street on Edgewood and Upper Montclair will all be wrought iron fence. The next page which is going to be C4, if you can zoom in, pretty much shows the 200 foot to the left of our property and then 200 foot to the right of our property. Our property is located at the upper right-hand corner, and going towards the left, it shows Edgewood. And as you keep going, there's another 2.5-story single family. You can scroll back up a little bit. And then as you proceed further to the left, there's another property. And then if you go towards the right of our property, which would be on the second row, on the left corner, on the left side of the second row, that is going to be the beginning of the right side of the property. And then because these are huge properties, even within 2 properties, you cover your 200-foot radius. And then right to the right of that is a typical gate that we'll really be interested in having. That's why we have the wrought iron manufacturer to develop that. But from the detail that we've shown the same common thing that they have been producing, and so on, to get to the detail. And then as you get down to the property, on the same page, you can see right there is the front of the property. Starting from left is the left side of our building. And then this is our building, left side of the building also. And then you can see the front of the building. And then this is a detail of the pier, the height of the pier. Can you zoom into the pier, please, for a minute? And then this shows the dimension of the pier. From the bottom, it's of the pier to the pier cap, it's 5.78, and then you have the 2 ornamentals structure at the top, which is about 1.56. And then, as I said earlier, it's like our first initial desire is to have a wrought iron fence that will have a kind of detail that is shown on the right side. Can you plan? Okay. Can you blow that up a little bit? And then that's the kind of fence that comes with, gate that comes with that. Then we also sent some couple of stuff to Tommy today in relations to what we're trying to do, because there was a comment from the planner that said they want to see exactly the height of the pier. And then also also they would like to see the reference of the fences to the pier and what their heights are. And then we did first of all that is the rendering of the building. From here to here is 50 feet. That's why we planning to put in additional piers. So the piers will be about 25 foot apart in the front of the property. Can we go to each of the details of the another one? Keep going. Okay, go back to that one first. No, go back to defense details. No, the next one. Okay, the aluminum fence will look exactly like this, and then that will border the property at the back and on the right side. So that's the aluminum fence. That's exactly how they're going to look. And then the next detail that more or less was drawn out. Another one, next one.
Are you looking for the full section that you sent?
Yeah,
I am trying to locate it right now. I thought I had saved it, but I didn't. If you want to talk about a different image, I'll look for it in the meantime.
Meanwhile, from initial design, you can go back to the rendering. I mean, our rendering. You can see that it's a straight run from one pier to the other. There may be additional support if need be, depending on the structural integrity of the iron fence, because wrought iron fence, because they are heavy. We may introduce additional, it may just be a point connection at the bottom. And then if we need to put any of the black wrought iron posts, then we have to do that. But our intent is for the fence to run smooth the way you're looking at it. And at no time would the height of the fence be more than 6 feet. And at no time would the height of the piers be more than 7.38 above ground. You found the other ones? Okay. Can you zoom in? Though we use another ornament here, but it's the same idea in which the height of the fence, including the post at any time, is 6 feet. And then these are the piers on both sides, and this is 25 foot wide, roughly. And then by the time we introduce additional 3 post, piers, then the average distance between each of the piers will be about 25 or 25.1, around that area. And then the next image shows, which is also a drone, not the one, next one after the, keep going.
Can you describe what you're asking me to put up?
That's the gate. The one with the gate. The pier and the gate.
The only one that I got with the gate was the original plans that you sent me. I only received the section that I pulled up. I didn't receive one with the gate.
I did send it. You want me to resend it?
I don't have access to my work email right now. But I believe you sent me the section I had pulled up 2 times. I could be wrong, but I don't think I received the one with the gate. I'm sorry.
Is there a way I can share my screen or something?
There's not. Can you just use this image to describe the height of the gate itself?
I'm not sure if we can see this properly. Can you? This is exactly how it's going to look like, and then I'll use it to describe. Those are the 2 piers on the left and the right, and then the gate will not exceed 6 feet at any time. And then it's exactly the same fashion, except we have different ascent to the gate. I'm not sure if you guys were able to see what I'm trying to show.
What you're showing, was that ever sent to the planning department? Do we have that on file?
It was sent, but you're just telling me that you didn't receive it.
If it was sent, I believe that I received the same section twice. It's possible that I just saved it wrong. But this is why we ask that you send them more than a couple hours before the meeting. So next time, if you get them to us earlier, we'll make sure everybody can get it ahead of time.
We do that next time. Thank you very much.
I just want to make sure that if we're looking at this is something that's on file or will be on file.
It will be on file. It's something that we send for it to be on file. But
we'll make sure we have it in time for the Board of Adjustment hearing.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mwami, could you, the picture that's up now, if you go to the right, that one piece that's there, is that just a section? What is that? Of the,
If I go to the, I don't know, I can't say left or right now. The pier that you're looking at now, that is a pier on one side of the gate. And as you transition, that's the gate, and then the pier on the other side. Because it was requested, exactly what you have here, except there's a pier on the right and the left side. It's exactly the same picture, almost the same picture, but there's a pier on the right and the left side.
no, I'm asking the detail that it looks like a piece of wrought iron that's been spray painted, because it's right, the cursor is on it now. It says wrought iron fence.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Oh, yo, that was from the what do you call it? From the manufacturer when they're trying to show us. That was spray printed, but the wrought iron is going to be exactly black wrought iron.
Okay. Does that conclude your testimony?
That pretty much concludes our testimony, because actually we're asking for 2 variances. And then from the way we have taken care to make sure that the fences are more or less like you can see through them. It's not obstructing the view of the property the way it is. And it's just mainly because of health concern that my client has been concerned about from the day they bought the property. It's not like they don't like bears or something, but it's just like the health issues with the dog eating the deer poop, and then the children running into the poop themselves. So it makes it very, very uncomfortable, and they don't want an issue in which there's a health concern for their children, and then that's where we're here.
Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Bliss able to access this? Do you want to give testimony, or can we go now to questions? Okay, so why don't we go to questions from commissioners? To understand, commissioners, the applicant is asking for a variance for the fence height. The allowed fence height is 4.5, and they're asking for a variance for
Kathleen?
6 foot.
Hey,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It looks like Ryan Deblis is on as an attendee. Let me add him as a panelist to see if he's able to use his mic. I'm sorry about not catching that sooner. Okay, I've made Ryan Deblis a panelist, so let's see if he's able to. I just unmuted him.
Hi, this is
Okay.
Ryan Deblis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, here we are.
Hi.
Sorry about that little technical snafu here.
That's okay. Are you, if you're going to give that evidence, you have to be sworn in.
Sure, we can do that.
Is Mr. Burr there?
Yes, I am here. Yep, I don't see the applicant, but I'm going to ask, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, please continue, Mr. Deblis.
Okay, so my wife Christy and I, oh, here we are. You can see me? Oh, here we are. We're, you know, we love our new home, and you know, one of the main problems we have with our 2 dogs, we've got a 7-year-old chocolate lab, and we've got a 3-year-old golden, and they love to run around in the yard. The only problem is that they've taken an interest to the deer droppings, and on a few occasions the dogs have gotten sick, and so we brought them to the vet, and they've been getting you know, by consuming the deer droppings, they've gotten worms. We would like to be able to use this space for the dogs and for eventually for our children, and you know, we feel that in order to do that, it would be best to have a fence around the property so that we could really utilize it, and hopefully, you know, have it be a safe space for our dogs and our children.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your testimony?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, it does. Thank you.
we'll open it up to questions now from the commissioners. Before we do that though, Tommy, were you able to, I sent you a picture, it was a PDF. Were you able to, of the pier that is there now, the existing pier? Are you able to put that up on the screen?
Let me see. Give me 1 second, please. I
Sure.
believe I do have that.
One of our pictures should show it also.
Yes, the one, is that the one right
The-
there?
Yeah, the one at the bottom left corner.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yes, okay, that's good. I just wanted to point out the plaque that is on the pier, the pier that's original to the estate, right there, right. That states that it's the property is on the National Register of Historic Places, known as Edgewood Terrace, I believe. All right, so without further ado, why don't we open up now to questions from the commissioners? Mr. Rooney, do you have any questions?
Yes, on the south side of the property, you've got a hedge running the whole time. Is the fence going to be inside the hedge or outside?
We don't know yet because the edge pretty much runs along the property line, and then my client have understands that in case the fence is running through that, they're going to move the edges and move it to the back of the fence.
Okay, okay. And you could change the design of the fence on the north side and also the west side of the property. It'll just be a standard aluminum black painted fence?
You mean on Upper Montclair side?
No, no, no. Between the house and the house next door and the house behind.
Yes, they are all aluminum fence. Or you want us to change to wrought iron fence also?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I just want to make sure it's not going to be chain link.
No. On the at the back of the property and to the right side of the property, even Upper Mountain Avenue, they're going to be aluminum fence like the one which we previously shown on the screen.
Okay. That's all my questions.
That's it, exactly like that.
Right.
Mr. Hyman, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Mr. Reinmitz, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Couple questions. How high are the existing piers on in front of the
They're about
house?
7 foot 4 inches.
No,
And
the
so
existing-
That's up to the top of the what do you call it, the ornament, to the top of the ornament.
okay. So you're proposing the new piers to match these piers
That's correct, sir.
and to be built in the same way, brick with concrete, precast concrete, top and bottom.
That's correct, exactly, to mimic that.
Okay. Okay. Could I see the site plan again on the screen?
That would be that's
That
good.
shows the new fence going across the front.
The new fence, if you zoom in,
Okay.
runs. Let's start from the top right
I
corner.
see it. Now I'm looking at Upper Mountain and I see what, 1, 2, 3, 4 piers? Is that what I'm
We're going
reading
to
there?
add 3 more piers because the space between these 2 piers is 50 feet. So we're going to add 1 more pier. So we're going to add 3 more piers as shown on the rendering.
Okay. Okay.
We're going to update the drawing
And
before
the same same along Edgewood Road spacing along Edgewood Road every 25 feet or so?
There's not going to be any pier along, apart from the first one by the on Edgewood Road. The next pier will be the existing one. It will just be all straight fences.
I see. So the brick and wrought iron fencing has this every 25 feet, turns the corner and no longer does that. It's just a wrought iron fence.
We would love to do that also. If we permitted, we can run it at every 25 feet. And then that will be consistent with each other. It will make the property or the scenery of that area looks better. It's something that we would like to do.
Yeah. Chairman, you said there's 2 variances. I understand the height variance. What was the other variance?
Yes, the height
One is for
variance.
the-
One is for the front, which allows 4.5. They want 6 foot. And then the back, the back, they want, I don't have the planning application, but
So it's also height, so it's also height variance
the
for the
height of
fence?
the pier.
Okay. Okay. Could
It's
I
okay.
look at, could we show the rendering of the front showing the proposed fence on Upper Mountain?
Can we go back to the rendering? Yes.
Tommy?
Are you not seeing it? I have it pulled up.
it's there.
I'm not seeing it.
It's a picture of the
I'm lagging a
house
little
in
bit
the
on my
back.
screen, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, there, I got it. Okay, so I'm just going to make a statement or a question. How wide is that sidewalk?
Let's go
4
back to the
feet?
original drawing. I could
No,
measure it.
that's okay. Let's just stay on this rendering. How wide is the sidewalk?
1
It's
second.
4 feet, right? It's a 4 foot wide sidewalk, right?
1 second,
I'm
sir.
just going to suggest. I'm going to suggest your rendering is out of scale. Because
Exactly.
if the sidewalk's 4 feet, that can't be 6 feet. So it's a little deceiving. I'm just gonna make a statement that the height there is a little deceiving.
We'll look
And
at it
that
now.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham?
The wrought iron fence that we're looking at, the rendering is different, right, than the one in the plan that you submitted, right? Which style of wrought iron fence are you going to go with?
I believe my client wanted the very first one, and
Oh,
then
so-
this was the one that.
So this one, not you showed a sample, right, of the wrought iron in there. Okay, but this would be the style that we're seeing right now?
The sample is on the
their
gate.
initial option is to use the one that was on the plan.
So this one that I'm looking at right here, right?
No, there's one on the plan, on the plan itself.
Can I just
That's
see
the
that
one with
one?
the
My question is, was it drawn from any inspiration in town? Are there other homes in the area that use a similar style, or was it historic in any way, the design?
If you go down on, if you're facing the property and you go down on the left, there are some fences that mimic a little bit. They don't have any kind of accent to them on the left side. If you're facing the property and you walk down to the left side of the street, I think about 200 foot or 400 foot down, there are some fences there too that mimic the one that we just had there.
They mimic. You're saying they mimic each. This fence would mimic that fence.
Yeah. Yes, except it doesn't have those round balls or something. They are just straight fences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that the height is going to be up to the zoning board, but are there other fences in town with a similar height?
That I can say.
Don't know. Okay.
I mean, in terms of 6 feet.
Yeah.
That I can say.
The Babs, just down the block from us, the Van Vleck estate has, I believe, 7 foot wrought iron fencing all around the property.
I understand that. That's more of an event space,
Yeah.
and the gardens are open to the public. I'm curious if any of the other residential homes have similar fencing around them.
Right across the street from us, what is their name? We have a neighbor just across the street from us that has a wrought iron fence that was installed about 30 years ago. They told us that fence was installed by the previous owner, and that fence came from an old hospital in New York City. And that fence is more than 4 feet. I think it's
I think it's 6.
It's probably 5 feet.
About 5 feet. Okay. Okay, those are my only questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, just one question. Is the height related to a safety factor or some other factor? The 4 foot, the 6 foot versus the 4.5 foot?
Well, for us, in keeping consistent with the size of the pillars on Edgewood Road, trying to place a fence that sort of matches the size of the pillars and sort of matches the the property. The 4 foot fence between the 7 foot pillars didn't really have an aesthetic that matched the house, and so just kind of talking with Babs, our architect, the 6 foot really looked good, but between the 7 foot pillars.
Right. So the pillars are currently 7 feet. These are the ones that are on the vertical road, not the one on Upper Mountain. But
That's correct. The ones
correct.
on Upper Mountain are proposed.
Yeah, these are 7 foot.
Yeah, they're 7 foot. All the way to the top of pier is about almost 6 feet, and then from the pier to the top of the cap or the ornament, that's where you get the 7 feet.
Okay. And the second question is, all of the fencing all the way around will have that open slat design so that there's see-through the design that was depicted on the Upper Mountain. Yes. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then we will take into consideration, depending on if my client feel okay with it or what your board is will be recommending, we'll probably have the piers at every 25 feet.
Okay. And the third question is, what's the life expectancy of that fence in good condition?
In good condition, they should last at least 20 years or more, but I cannot say because I don't have the number in my head.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate those. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Miss Ruban, am I pronouncing that right? Ruban?
Rubman, yeah, no questions, except that I walk by this house every day and I agree that drawing is not to scale. It does not, yeah, there's something off about it.
Okay. Mr. Grinkin, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. How far back is the fence and the pillars going to be from the sidewalk?
We can go back to the because the fence will be placed right on the right-of-way line, and that's about 3 to 4 feet. Actually, yes, about 3 to 4 feet. I can get to the actual dimension from the other computer. 1 second.
3 to 4 feet from the sidewalk, then
it's actually 4 feet from the sidewalk, because that's the property line is 4 feet from the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is about 4 feet, and then you have the grass area. So from the property line to the curb line is 16 feet.
Okay, so my question is, how high would the pillars be once you elevate them due to the rise of the front yard?
The height of the pillar, like especially in the front, we like them to be at even elevation, and then at the most point not to be more than 6 feet. But technically, as you go along Edgewood Road, you have to follow the terrain.
So if Tommy, with your cursor right there, we'll say that the pillar is right there.
Yes.
The pillar will be about 10 to 12 feet higher than the sidewalk, roughly?
No. No, because I have the 1 second. I'll tell you exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to get information from the other computer. It's freezing on me. Okay, here we go. I don't think it's more than a foot.
Does that answer your question?
So in reality, if I'm walking down the sidewalk just at it, the pillar will be about 8 feet high, a little over 8 feet.
The pillar, because it's already 7 feet plus 1, is
8 feet.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Greenkin?
No, that's it.
I have a question. You testified that you're trying to keep the deer off the property, but what in fact height is a deer fence?
Excuse me, ma'am?
What is a deer fence? The height of a deer fence, what is that? Is a deer fence that keeps the deer out? It's
They hop, but on average, they can. It's tough for them to skip a 6-foot high fence.
I'm half redneck. I have to disagree with that, but it's usually in the country we do 8, where my family's from, we do 8-foot fences to keep out our deer.
Yes, that was my point, that for a true deterrent, deer deterrent, the fence has to be much higher. So,
There's a reason why we brought it down to 6 feet, because at the initial stage of our proposition, we talked to the town, and they said there's no way they're going to approve an 8-foot fence.
right, no, I understand that, but I think the rationale for it to deter deer is not a valid one. The other one is question is the existing piers that are on Edgewood that Tommy pointed out before. Are you proposing that those stay, or are you rebuilding? Are you demolishing them and rebuilding them?
The existing will stay. We're just going to make sure that the new one looks like them.
Okay, so the existing piers will stay.
That's correct.
That one right there.
Yes.
Okay.
If they have any structural issue, we will repair them, but the existing one are supposed to stay.
Okay, and there's 4 original piers, correct?
That's correct.
There's 5.
There's 5.
I'm sorry, there's 4 on, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
There's 5 piers.
Oh, 5 piers. Okay.
One more.
2. Yes, it's correct.
Oh, the other one is up the block?
No. It's right there. It's a small gate. It's like a pedestrian gate.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right, to the right of that. And then, so you're going to maintain the plaque that's in, oh, I see. Okay, so you'll maintain the plaque that's there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there was another question, but I guess, no, that's it. Those are my questions. Oh, the question is the vegetation. Mr. Rooney touched on that before. You've got privet hedges here, and on the other side the north that divides the 2 properties, the neighbors. Do those hedges belong to you or your neighbor?
Can you go back to the site plan, please?
Or maybe the picture?
No, the site plan itself. Any one of them. Let's go to the one.
I didn't think they were indicated in this site plan, are they?
There. 1 second. Can you go back to the other one? Yeah, the survey didn't show it. 1 second.
I have a picture in my report.
Yeah.
I believe I do. Let's see.
Yeah, all that
big edges. Most of them are in Mr. Deblis property.
So how are you going to deal with, I can't tell it, the picture's too dark, but what is that big, there's a hedge, looks like a privet hedge, and then there's, looks like a rhododendron, and what's on the corner there? That one with the cursor, what is that?
You mean,
How do you propose to deal with the fence and that hedge?
our intent is any edge that's going to be affected will be removed and replanted. Or if we can move it, we'll move it.
And here you can see clearly if you, that the land rises.
Yes.
Very clearly. Okay.
That's what I said, between the sidewalk and then where the thing will be about 1 foot. So that makes the piers about 8 foot high.
Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any other questions from the commissioners before we open it up to public questions from the public?
Yes, Chair, just quickly, Mr. Adewumne, did you say that the existing piers are 6 feet in height?
No, they are 7 feet to the pier cap itself is almost 6 feet, and then you have the ornament on top that makes it 7 foot 3 or 7 4.
So those right now that we're looking at are 7 feet in height?
Yes.
I don't think they.
Yeah, they are. We've measured them. It's about 6 feet up to the base, and then the ornament's another foot.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Tommy, is there anybody on the phone that would like to question?
Let me pull up the list of participants. Give me 1 second, please. We do have people, it doesn't look like I'm able to unmute any of the people that are on right now. So it doesn't look like anybody is going to be able to speak who's on right now, because I believe maybe their mics are deactivated.
Oh.
I'll keep it open now, and if that changes in the next couple seconds, I'll let you know.
Or maybe if anybody wants to make a question, you could go into the chat.
Or raise your virtual hand, so at least we know that you're trying to ask a question or provide a comment.
I'm still not able.
Questions or hands raised.
No. Okay, so then why don't we close that part of the hearing and turn our attention now to Mr. Connolly and Mr. Connolly's report. Were all the commissioners able to access this and read this?
Yes.
Okay, so Tom, do you want to give us your opinion on this project?
Yep, I'll just go through my 4 comments that I had.
Mhm.
But I also have more comments from what I was seeing tonight. But my first comment had to do with the applicant should provide architectural drawings, elevation and detail showing the proposed wrought iron fence, the aluminum fence, and the piers. We have no drawing. The only drawing that I guess was submitted with the application was of the pier, the brick pier. But I think it's important to see the actual wrought iron, the proposed wrought iron fence and the aluminum fences and how they're connected. There was a drawing that was shown tonight, but there was no dimensions.
The drawing that we show has dimension on them.
Which
can you bring back one of the?
Yes, but just to be clear, we received that today, so this wasn't included in the submission material tonight.
Just leave this drawing up for a second. My second comment had to do with the proposed brick piers shall match the existing piers in all attributes, including the cast stone cap, and the existing piers rest on a larger granite base, which is not shown in these drawings.
Actually, went out to the side, measured everything the way it is from the base upward from what we can see,
Okay,
and
are
then
you
they look at
proposing
the
a
actual
granite,
dimensions.
are you proposing a granite base or a concrete base?
It's off it now. We have to match existing, which is the granite base there, I believe.
Not necessarily. Because you're adding new piers to a historic building. I think they should be distinguished somewhat from the original piers. And I think a good way to do that would be changing the material of the proposed base. But right now you're not proposing one. I don't see one here.
I didn't understand your last question, sir.
Okay. My comment number 3 says the new metal fences shall not exceed 4 feet in height. I believe, Kathleen, you mentioned 4.5 feet.
But let me just be clear. Is that correct, Tommy, that the front, I don't know where I got that from, 4.5?
This has come up in previous applications. What's in the zoning ordinance and what's the zoning ordinance difference from the residential rehabilitation design guidelines, which state that metal fences, which this is, a metal fence shall not exceed 4 feet in height.
Okay.
So the guidelines in the zoning ordinance don't jive.
Okay.
But that's what it states in the residential design guidelines, so 4 feet.
Okay.
And my last comment, this says the existing piers shall be repaired and repointed with the appropriate mortar in place of, it looks like a really hard mortar or cement, which is deteriorating the brick. If you look at the bottom of that pier right there, I guess where the gate would go, it's in rough shape.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, because our intent is to leave existing piers, and then we'll repair and fix them as appropriate so that they can handle the proposed fence and gates.
Okay, so Tommy, could you bring up the elevation, the new elevation of the fence that shows the pier and the fence? I wanted to point out here something that's somewhat odd. At the brick pier, right next to the brick pier is a post, a fence post, which is kind of redundant to have 2 posts or 2 piers.
That's correct.
Yeah, that looks odd to me. Why would you have a pier and a post?
The reason why I put that there is
And that's not shown in the rendering either. And the rendering difference from this drawing. The caps are different in the rendering than what's in this drawing. So I don't know what we're getting here.
What you're getting is the rendering and then the fence as it appears now. That's what you're getting.
Yeah, all I'm saying is we need an accurate drawing of the pier, and actually everything.
Okay, well, we'll revise the elements to make sure that it matches.
And
did we get a copy of your report?
What's that?
I mean, there's something that Tom is reading from. I'm not sure if we got a copy of that.
Actually, if you
This
go
was
back to that
online
rendering
with
again.
all the application materials. As soon as we received it, it was uploaded to the website with everything else.
Can we look at the rendering again real quick? That shows the new piers. The posts that are shown on the drawing don't show up in this rendering.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be there. That's correct.
Yeah.
It's supposed to run through.
So again, it's hard to know what we're getting here.
What you're getting is
approving.
what you're seeing on the rendering.
Well, again, there's no base here, right? No base to the piers like the existing.
It's the base is being shown on the detail because
which detail?
And the rendering shows it on the sidewalk. It doesn't show it 4 feet
Set back. Right.
Yeah.
And I think
So you have 4 comments, Tom. You said you had other?
Well, yeah, just that these drawings that we're seeing tonight don't jive.
Right, they don't, I agree. So accurate drawings, especially how the piers relate to the fence.
Right, all we're seeing is photographs of of the fencing we're getting.
Right,
There's a drawing of a gate, but it doesn't show how it connects to the pier. I mean,
and
it's
it's a drawing of the big gate and not a drawing of the pedestrian gate either. There's no rendering of the pedestrian
No,
gate.
he only showed the gate for the
The
vehicle.
driveway. Okay, so you need a rendering of the
I prefer drawings. Drawings would be
Drawing.
more helpful than renderings. Right, and that cap that's shown in this drawing is different from the existing.
Exactly, right, it's hot, it looks higher.
Yeah, it's the base, the ball that sits on that base doesn't look like the existing. Which
this,
again might be fine.
Okay.
I think, more dimensions on the rusticated brick would be helpful. I mean, somebody's going to reconstruct these.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Wanna
have
give
the
them
dimension.
dimensions.
Yeah, we'll show it on the drawing.
Okay. Are there, so we have the we have the gate, and more dimensions, the structures that are on the piers.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
Okay, so, Mr. Connolly, do you have any other points to make before we start our discussion?
I was done.
Okay.
Oh, I did look up a deer fence real quick. The minimum height of a deer fence is 6 feet.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was much higher. All my friends have deer fences that are like 8 to 10 feet. Okay, thank you.
The range is 6 to 10.
Okay,
I have one question. And
sure.
it's about the driveway gates. Will they, I don't think you can have them open in because
Oh.
you've got a slope behind them. They probably have to open out, and also there's a cross slope. So, you can't have that straight line going across. Your dogs will be able to get out with the gates
Can you go
closed.
back to that picture, Tommy? There.
Yeah, you see there's a considerable distance.
Yeah.
And it also slopes towards the street. You might be able to get the gates to open in on the upper side, but the lower side you will not. You'll have to open out.
What we'll do, we'll look at
Who's speaking? I can't.
it's me, Matt.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. We'll see what the swing room is, and if not possible, we'll see if it's something that the gate can be on a roller, like a sliding gate. We'll look at that also.
Okay. That may not work either.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as I'm speaking.
Yeah. You could have it go up.
Mm.
All right. I just want you to be aware.
The other solution is to make it like a bifolded gate, like fold twice. That may help.
You could do that, right?
Yeah.
It's just you'll have to figure that one out.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
You don't want to have the gate block the sidewalk. While
No. The intent is never to open into the sidewalk.
Right.
We'll look at it, maybe a bifolded gate.
Right.
So is that the same? What did you term that gate? A
bifold gate.
A bifold, which each piece folds. That
yeah.
Okay.
Can we do comments around that?
Yes, I was just gonna, yes, comments. Let's go on to you, Mr. Imetz.
Okay, can we go to the drawn elevation that had those little posts that Mr. Connolly noted? Yeah, that one right there. Yes. I think there are a lot of little details that you can obviously see that we're commenting on that don't quite add up and don't quite, I think it really has to get drawn a little bit more accurately. I would tend to approve, now we're making comments. I would tend to approve this if the posts were not there, just inside the brick pier, and the actual wrought iron lined up with the top of the brick, that it didn't go past the beginning of the cap, so that the wrought iron actually looked like it ran from brick to brick and not above that point. I think that's a more natural way, and that way that wrought iron could run into the brick and be supported by the brick. So I think it just that needs, I think it can be scaled down, you know. And listen, I think you could drop it by a foot. So you're not trying to make a 6-foot fence, but you're making a 5-foot fence that goes up to the top of the brick. I think if we're going to do this, you'd want to run this 25-foot sort of pattern around up Edgewood Road, so that this is consistent. You know, if this is such an element that you're creating, to just have it just sitting out in front on Upper Mountain, and then you turn the corner and I don't know what it becomes. It becomes something else. And then there's aluminum fencing on the other side. I would at least make the two street sides consistent. And I would go along with Tom Connolly. You know, it needs to get drawn a little bit more accurately. And what happens at those gates? There's no way. I can't see it. I don't see the geometry working with a bifold fence, a sliding fence, full. You know, I don't know what you do at those gates to really make them work. I'd really want to. You really have to shoot those elevations and connect those pieces together. I really don't know what you're going to do there. Those are my comments. Those are my comments. And being in scale. Draw the rendering in scale so we can see it. I'm done. Sorry.
Okay, no, but I just want to ask about the height of it. They're going for a variance here of higher than for 6 feet. So how does that fit in with the historic district? Do you have
all I'm saying is visually, if I was looking at this, just trying to design, you know, just me looking at this, trying to design it, make it look as beautiful and wonderful as possible, I would line up the wrought iron, the brick. I wouldn't go past the cap above or the base below, basically.
So the height issue, the variance for height is not a concern.
The height, I think he needs, is it a concern? I think you can do this quite nicely. I think it just has to be detailed well. And I don't believe it's detailed well quite yet. So those are my comments.
Okay, Mr. Heineman?
Yeah, I tend to agree with John's comments on the details and the stylings. You know, one thing to consider too, because it is, even though you're going for the height variance, it's on the lower end of what a deer fence would allow. I'm the zoning board attorney in Wayne, and they get a lot of these types of applications, and they're typically looking for 6 or 8-foot fences. And it's been reported that you know, with the wrought iron fences, deer have actually impaled themselves on the lower fences. So I would suggest, you know, incorporating some landscaping, maybe 4 or 5-foot hedges in conjunction with the fence to add some horizontal distance to deter deer from attempting that jump, because, you know, some of the larger adults can make that jump. And if it's, you know, especially off of Upper Mountain, if they're running from traffic, they might jump without thinking, might have some issues. So I would just consider adding landscaping as another deterrent.
Okay.
You mean at the back or in the front?
Probably in the front. Because that'll, I mean, if
You're
they're in the
talking about
backyard,
Upper
they're,
Mountain or Upper Mountain,
yeah. Outside of the perimeter, because that's where you want to deter the jump. If they're already in the yard, you want to get them out. But if they haven't gone in yet, the hedge will prevent their run up.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Graham, what is your comment? Do you have any?
Yeah, I do have a concern about the height. I understand that perhaps there is a fence in the area that is 5 feet. You know, the drive on Upper Mountain Ave, though, there are not, you know, we don't see a lot of fencing. I believe I agree with Mr. Ryman. If it's done properly, it could look, it could be done well. I would like to know more about other fencings in the area, whether there are similar fences of this height that they're requesting. And I am concerned about the fence being on the low end of a deer fence. I think Mr. Hyman's point about, you know, deer potentially harming themselves is a very valid one to consider.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rudman?
Yeah, I know this is a Historic Preservation Commission meeting, but as a just caring about living beings, these kind of fences are a quick, you can confirm it with a quick Google search, but I've seen it. They're like notorious for impaling deer. So you just might be, if you, you just might want to think about that in your design. It would be pretty traumatic, I think, to everybody to have a impaled deer on your fence, but that's my only comment.
Are you generally in favor of?
No, oh, I'm sorry. No, I mean, I shared concerns that I couldn't really make sense of the different images and, you know, what it's actually going to look like, and also the scale of that drawing that we looked at. I really couldn't quite make sense of everything.
Okay, all right. I think that's a common concern for everyone. Mr. Sweeney? Do you have any comments for discussion?
I do have some comments. I generally favor the fence. It's going to be open. I think the height is justified by the need. And I think the major impact on the history is the having a fence itself. It's not the height of the fence, it's having a fence. And if the ordinance permits having fence, I think it's appropriate. What I like about the fence, you can see through it, it's visible, doesn't impact on the historic image of the whole property. So my general view is that the application is consistent, yes, and doesn't adversely affect any historic factor. I do want to comment that pictures, diagrams, and everything should be in scale and consistent, because when we're looking historically, part of what we do is visual, and scale comes with what's presented with us. But in any event, those are my comments.
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney, I just wanted to clarify that the ordinance doesn't permit, it would require a variance for a 6-foot fence, but it would permit them to do it at 4 or 4.5 feet.
Yes, no, my point was that I don't see the difference between 4.5 and 6 feet as really impacting on the historical character. What I was saying is, the extent there's anything that impacts on historical character is having the fence itself, because a lot of the properties along there are just open,
right?
No open front. But if they're authorized, they should have the right to put the fence in. And the justifications they've given, I believe, are related to safety, use of their property, and therefore, I think, at least in my view, again, this is my first meeting, but that's my sense of it. I have experience with deer. Yes, they can jump pretty high, 6 feet, but 6 feet is pretty good for most of them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Greenkin?
I just, the same details that Mr. Connolly had pointed out as far as the pictures and details of the stonework and some of the ornamental aspects. And then the only other thing is, given where the pillars are going to be presented on Upper Mountain, it's obviously going to present much higher than, 6 or 7 feet. So.
Yeah, and I would like to see that more detail too, what the height would actually be on the finished fence, because we need to know how far back, or I think the zoning board needs to know how far back from the sidewalk it will actually be. Because it's not listed on the drawings. So okay. So does anyone have any other comments before we go into our list of recommendations to send to the zoning board on this project?
One question. At no time will the piers be the piers will more or less like what we intend to do at the front, if we could, is to have the pier at the same elevation. I mean, take the most probably the smallest one and then level the other ones. But the height of the pier will not change at any time. We just go with the ground.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is the pier elevation will always remain at 7 feet 3 inches or 4 inches, and then depending on where the ground is, so you just follow the ground.
So you're saying the fence will be lower than 6 feet?
No, it will not be lower than 6 feet. That's what my statement is this: the height of the pier will not change. It will be relative to the ground.
Okay, but because it's on a slope, it will be higher than when you're on the sidewalk. I know. Yes. Okay. So visually, it's going to be higher.
That's correct.
Okay. So Tommy, have you been writing down these recommendations to forward to the zoning board?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so we have the 4 that are in Tom's report. It seems like number 3, people are in agree. Well, I don't agree, but because I don't think it should be the height. But it sounds as though most people think that the height of the higher height would be okay with this property.
I don't know, Kathleen. I don't agree with that. I think that it could change the character of the neighborhood. I mean, we're talking about preserving a historic district.
Right.
If it's not common to that area and you start having all these homes with 6 feet fences, I think that could be a change to the character.
And I agree with you. I do agree with you, Mike. I think that I think we should keep it at the lower height and that's appropriate for this. I mean, this building, this is an absolutely beautiful, exquisite estate. So I think that possibly planting, somebody suggested was to put greenery on either side of the fence and keep it at a lower height as opposed to the higher, the higher height, the 6 foot height. And that would work with the existing height of the piers, would it not?
I mean,
Yeah, my question is though, from a historic perspective, is there anything inconsistent about having that 6 foot versus a 4 foot fence?
Well, in this neighborhood, the whole idea of the lawn is the whole idea of even having a fence is not. But they're entitled to have a fence. So
exactly, so that's the point I'm getting at, and I think that's what one of the other commissioners mentioned. The issue is the fence itself, and they're entitled to have. Mr. Sweeney said they're entitled to have a fence.
Mhm.
The issue is there a difference between 4 and 6? And from a practical perspective, there is, but is there from a historic or a visual, you know, a streetscape perspective, is there a difference? I mean, this house is substantially elevated off the street grade. I don't think and especially if it's a wrought iron fence, I don't think it's going to impact the view from the street too much.
Mhm. Well,
Again, it's hard to say without seeing the accurate elevations, but I mean,
well,
that's my concern looking at this.
right, and I think from for precedence, there was an application that the house on Lorraine Avenue and their backyard. This was a backyard fence that was actually on Haddon Place. I went by it today, and we voted against the 6 foot. That would have been their backyard because it was the streetscape, and it is a wooden closed fence, but we and the zoning board agreed and kept it down to the lower height for 4'5", I guess it is, and which is much more apparent with the streetscape. Now you could argue that this is a much grander streetscape, and if it's open, that you know, maybe that should be allowed. But historically, it wouldn't have. I'm trying to say it would have been helpful if we had some pictures if there's any other, you know, big houses like this on Upper Mountain. I know you told us about one, but we don't have any pictures, nor do we know the exact height. And I also,
I think also you perceive this fence in 2 different ways. Yes, driving by, you perceive it one way. Walking along the street, you're going to be looking through cast iron, you know, bars that go up above your head. Okay, so that change, the actual streetscape does change. Does it block the view as you drive by? I don't know. Is it that important? But I think it comes down to detailing and making it relate to the existing piers that are there and doing a real good job. And I think the actual, this is my opinion, that the fence can be scaled down a little bit to work with the existing piers. So
is that a fair comment for the rest of the commissioners?
Yeah, I totally agree with John. I think the concern is making it work architecturally, and I think those comments were very good.
Okay, then. So we have the number 3 of Tom's comments are that it should not exceed 4 feet in height. Are we willing to say that it could go up to 6 feet? That's my question to the rest of people, to everybody else.
I'm not comfortable with that personally. Again, I think being on the low end of the deer fence is, you know, could be a jeopardy to those animals. I think, you know, if we had 6-foot fencing along the entirety of Upper Mountain, it would, you know, if we could be setting a precedent where the entire historic district, you know, determines they want to put 6 feet fencing up, I think that completely changes the character of the district.
And I agree with you, Mike. So being that the Deblises are looking, seeking a variance, does the HPC, maybe we should have a vote on the height as to what people, it sounds as though there's going to be split decision here, or split recommendation. We don't have to have a vote. If it's a split recommendation, some people felt that the height was fine, and others felt that it would really destroy the historic character and set a precedent that we don't want to see in a district. But I think
May I chime in?
Sure.
I just wanted to make note that the previous owners actually removed, I believe they were 7-foot hedges that were all along the front of the property, that were existing when the prior owner, the Mandrys, owned the home. I don't have any pictures of that, however. But that was, you know, standing precedence for probably 20 years or more.
Okay, well, thank you.
I wanted to ask just a question about fencing itself. The fences come in standard heights, the kind of fence that we're talking about, or is the height something that is it will be tailored to the purchaser? Meaning, does it have to be 4.5, 6? Does it have to be 6 feet? Could be 5.75. I'm looking at the height of the columns, and their height is 5.78 inches, but that doesn't sound like a standard fence height.
Do you have an answer for that, Mr.
Adewumi?
Architect?
No, that's because most fence comes at standard 6 feet or 4 feet, or they can be what do you call it, tailored to whatever height. But construction may be difficult in terms of trying to manufacture those fences, because that's the height of the pier right there. And then if you're going to maintain the same height all over the property, it's going to be the same. So there's no fence that's going to be 5.78. So it's going to be about 6 feet.
See, I would suggest that the fence be 5 feet, so it comes up to the cap, to the bottom, and doesn't go past the cap. And that's just an architectural suggestion.
Okay, so
Not necessarily-
that could be one of our recommendations, that the fence not be higher than 5 foot in order to relate better to the brick pier.
We're talking about less than 3 inches different from the height of the pier.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that the renderings are not accurate, and that you really need to have more detail of them before you go before the zoning board. So that's the first thing. We need to get through this now. So Tom's first point about architectural drawings, you need to provide more detail. So architectural drawings of proposed wrought iron and aluminum fences and piers. What you've provided tonight, I don't think is accurate, and I think it's been confusing to all of us. The proposed brick piers shall match the existing, and the existing will not be destroyed. I was a little unclear whether that was going to whether you were going to demolish the existing brick piers.
We don't intend to destroy. We will repair if necessary.
Right, and that's Tom's fourth point, to be repaired and repointed with appropriate mortar in place of cement. And then the new metal fence, I think that what Mr. Ryman said, the height should be 4 feet in order to relate, I'm sorry, not 4 feet, no higher than 5 feet in order to relate to the brick pier in terms of the horizontal line at the top of the pier. These are only recommendations by us. You go to before the zoning board, and the zoning board will grant you the variance or not. So these are, and I found the other recommendation would be to incorporate landscaping and not to remove any of the existing hedges or greenery that's already on the boundary. If that can be incorporated into where the fence will, whatever fence you have up there, it needs to be incorporated into it.
Kathleen, in that comment about the pillars and tying the fencing into them, did that specifically note John's point about removing those metal posts?
No, I didn't. No, it does reference that, but it's not written. So yes, so no higher than 5 foot, and with a better rendering, clearer rendering, I guess, rendering to be able to see that that post is no longer, it's not necessary, that the fencing should tie into the pier, not into the post.
Yes.
So Tommy, I think we have 6 recommendations, or is it only 5?
I have 5 written down based on what we just went through.
Okay,
Covers everything.
okay. So,
And then with respect to the variance itself, I mean, I think it should note, because we do customarily indicate whether we support or oppose it.
right.
I would indicate that there's no consensus on whether or not the variance should be granted.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a note of that as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. But make sure that your renderings are in order before you go to the zoning board.
We'll do that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good luck. It's a beautiful, beautiful house. I've always admired it. Really spectacular.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house. Thank you very much.
Good stewards. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. All right, everyone. It's 9:30. Oh, no, it's 9:45. We're going to start our next application, which is for C of A. It's application 2021-66, 210 Bloomfield Avenue. Let me just get all my. This is the American Legion building, the American Legion Crawford Cruise Post 251. It is within the Town Center Historic District on Bloomfield Avenue, as I've noted. The American Legion Crawford Cruise Post 251 have owned the property since 1945. The building was originally constructed in the around 1888, 1887 as a fire station for the Washington Hose Company No. 3. The building was constructed in the Italian Renaissance style and has been modified since its original construction for its conversion into an American Legion. This building has major significance to the African American community in Montclair. It is noted, as I said before, in the Town Center Historic District Expansion Nomination Report of 2004. It is also designated as a local historic landmark. The building was, there's lots of history about this. I won't go into detail because I'm going to ask the applicant to go into a little bit more detail. But to know that the building has been altered, particularly the front facade, since its original construction, but its original use remains evident in the fenestration pattern and hints at previous openings through the retention of the masonry openings and recesses within these openings. So who do we have here as representatives of the Crawford Cruise American Legion?
Good evening, it's James Evers. I'm the applicant.
Yes, hi. You're the architect, correct, Mr. Evers?
Yes, I am.
And is there anyone else there from the Legion?
Yeah, Terry Scantlebury is on, as well as Daryl Collins.
Oh, great.
The masonry consultant.
Sorry, I'm going to add those 2 gentlemen as panelists so that they can speak.
And Martha Brazaban, the architect who's also a masonry expert, was on also.
Okay, great. So we have 5 potential people who will be giving testimony?
4 people.
Oh, 4. I'm sorry. All right, so we need to get you sworn in.
And I've gone ahead and added the other 2. So all 4 should be panelists now.
Okay, great. So Mr. Burke, would you do the honors, please?
Yes, I can do that. For the witnesses that will be testifying during this hearing, you all solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Evers, are you going to take the lead on this and explain?
Yeah, this is, thank you. Thank you for hearing our application.
Yes.
We're asking for a total demolition of this historic structure. Just
Mr.
wanna-
Evers, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if I have all of your application materials loaded up, so if you want me to pull up any of the exhibits, just let me know. I'll pull them up and share my screen.
Sure, I guess you could just share that first picture of the front facade for right now.
Is that contained in one of your exhibits, or is that
It was in the application.
okay, do you remember which exhibit that was included with?
It was the first item with the photos.
Okay.
And Tommy, while you're looking for that, I neglected to say that this is a application for total demolition of a historic building. And it is, we're following the total demolition ordinance, which is number 347-121. It is known as demolition of historic structures. So we'll let Mr. Evers describe the existing building and tell us why they want to, and the need is to demolish it. So
Great.
please continue, Mr. Evers. I'm sorry I neglected to say that before.
No problem. So to quote from the ordinance, the township's historic structures are woven into the fabric and identity of the community. And a paraphrase from that, the structures bestow on the neighborhoods and the community the character, ambience, and stability. And this application is really about the use of the building, the legacy of the Legion members there, honoring that legacy and respecting that service. And in furtherance of the mission of the Legion, we're asking for the total demolition of the building itself. As you stated, it was built in the 1890s, became a Legion Hall in 1934 after serving as a firehouse for the municipality. The front has been altered with the closing off of openings, removal of an arch, and as well as exterior finishes and the removal of the cornice across the top of the structure. In the ordinance itself, some of the criteria deal with the historic and cultural significance of the building. And we believe that the mission, continuing the mission and expanding that mission of the Legion will continue that, will maintain that historical and cultural tie to the community. Architecturally, the new building will retain some of the elements of the existing building. And these are items that we've discussed in meetings at the site, namely the first floor brick patterns that you see around the windows, the coins on the second floor that you see leading up to where the cornice was, and some of the stone lintels and sills as well. One of the requests from the Legion itself was that we recreate the arch that once adorned the front of the building. It's contained in one of the pictures of our application. You can't see the outline of the arch there now. So architecturally, we feel that the new building would enhance the district and still call out to the history of the building. The intended use of the building, it's no longer suitable as a firehouse for obvious reasons, which was its original purpose. And as a Legion Hall, they've outgrown it, and in furtherance of their mission to provide supportive housing for homeless veterans, it no longer fulfills that purpose for the American Legion. The importance to the township of the building is that the historical value of the mission and the legacy of the mission will be enhanced by creating a much more open and communicative building to the general public going by. Right now, the building has got a closed appearance to the public, and it doesn't communicate much of the history or any of the ongoing the community outreach programs that go on at the Legion as part of their mission. To the extent that there's unique craftsmanship or exterior items that could be reutilized, we're going to do that. The brickwork itself, we're going to replicate on the first floor of the proposed building. And as I said before, we'll replicate or reuse the quoins, sills, and lintels. The impact to the historic district of the removal of the building is, frankly, we're removing a building that's in disrepair, would most likely have to be completely dismantled in order to be rebuilt. And the new building would be a much greater improvement and addition to the historic district. The structural soundness of the building is compromised due to the type of construction that didn't brace the exterior walls. It's a gravity wall foundation that's permeable surface. They do get moisture in the basement, oftentimes after snow falls and after rains. And it's not economically feasible to consider saving a portion of the building and constructing a new building behind it, or reusing any of the other elements of the building itself. The Legion has been contacted by the township regarding maintenance of the building on the exterior. And we've examined also the feasibility of a structural rehabilitation, but given the age of the building, the type of construction that was done there, and the deterioration, a complete demolition would need to be done to reconstruct that. Lastly, the mission of the Legion and their operation in the community is as a nonprofit, and to not allow the demolition would prohibit the Legion from expanding their mission to include supportive housing for homeless veterans. I'll take any questions that you might have at this time.
You're on mute, Kathleen.
Sorry, is this item number 1 that we're looking at right now? Are there any other images?
That's item number 1. Yeah, if you
Yes, let's scroll down so we can see the existing building.
so that's the west side of the building.
Is this the west? This is the.
Just guide me through this. Just let me know how quickly you want me to scroll through it, and I will follow your lead.
Okay. The property line is the fence there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Tommy. That's the east side.
That's the east facade. So that property line is just below where that downspout is.
Okay. And how wide is the building now?
It's about 26 feet.
Okay.
And then there's the stairway on the side.
Okay.
That's the rear of the building. Again, that's the east elevation.
Mm-hmm.
These are interior photos of the second floor. There's nothing remarkable about the construction. Drop ceilings, partition walls been altered over time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the upstairs conference rooms, bathrooms. Again, nothing architecturally significant about any of the details in these offices on the second floor. So that's the main hall for the Legion. And one of the functions of the Legion right now is that they have community outreachers, community groups that come in and use that room. Well, when the community is using that room, the Legion's unable to use their hall as well at the same time.
And the other thing I noted in item number 2, which I guess we're getting to, is that the existing structure does not contain an elevator, sprinkler system, air conditioning, and other services that are needed for the new post 251. There we go. Okay.
That's correct.
So these are the reasons that the Legion wishes to demolish this building and build a new one.
Yeah, that's the need to demolish it.
Mhm.
And then there's the purposes of the demolition.
Okay.
Would you like me to open the other exhibits as well and go through those?
Yes, I think we should go through them before we open up for questions so we know what we're dealing with. Okay, and this is the request for a waiver for, it should be noted that members of the HPC visited once or twice to see what could actually be, if there was anything possibly to be reused, or if the structure was completely, you know, in not structurally sound, so that it would not be able to be moved, or a facade kept up and built behind it. So that's what that's why you're requesting the waiver from item number 3 in the demolition.
Yes, and the Legion's commitment to stay in the community as well at that location. You know, it's a historic location. They want to stay in the community, so selling the building is not an option for them.
Because it's
And Mr.
still
Evers, you just-
an active, ongoing would you say it's a thriving organization?
Very much so. And since this undertaking about a year ago, there's even more members that have come out and joined and, you know, revitalized the mission membership.
Oh, okay. Can we
But
go?
there are no other suitable locations in Montclair to carry on the activities?
This location, because of the legacy and being in the neighborhood of Crawford Cruz where he lived, there's firm commitment to stay at that particular location.
So I guess it's fair to say that keeping the organization at this site is critical to, I guess, preserving and maintaining, I guess, the historical significance of the site itself.
Yes.
Can you go to number 4? Oh, sorry.
Kathleen, can I just ask, Chair, can I just ask a quick question
Sure.
about the first part of item 3? Mr. Evers, are you saying that it's not possible to salvage the elements referenced in that part 1 to use in the next, the building that you would build in place of the existing structure?
No, we will use some of those
You
elements.
will use them. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that came out of those conversations and meetings at the site.
I thought that was the case. I needed some clarification. Thank you very much.
Chair, can I ask a question about item number 2?
Yes.
So there's a difference in the language that Mr. Evers used in his verbal presentation and what it says here, because it says here that that the repairing them for reuse is not possible without complete dismantling. But Mr. Evers, when you spoke, you used the word likely. Likely not possible. So I'm just curious, which is it? Is it possible or is it not possible?
It's not, well, and you know, anything is possible within reason and within budgetary restraints. It's not possible to dismantle the build, to preserve a portion of the building.
Does that answer your question?
basically to preserve the building because of the construction techniques and the current state that it's in. You would have to dismantle the entire building before rebuilding it. And with those elements that are there, it wouldn't be adequate, wouldn't meet today's needs.
So is it correct that the facade, which is the area of concern for preservation, is so damaged that it couldn't be preserved in its current state? It would have to be dismantled and essentially rebuilt?
Yes, completely. And that leads you to the next issue, which would be the foundation. And the foundation's a gravity wall foundation in places. So you're essentially building a new wall on top of an antiquated foundation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, based on that testimony, I'm waiving the sale or relocation requirements.
Yes.
I agree.
I would agree with that too. Can we continue on with what's this, number 3? Oh, this is the waiver. Existing floor plan. Item number 5, could you go to?
There's more to item 4 has a lot of content to it if you want to look through it, or we can go to item 5.
No, go to item 5. Unless you, okay. Now, I had a question about this. Did you do any type of archaeological digging to see if there was anything possibly in the backyard? You say it's not believed, but do you have any evidence of that?
I don't have any evidence of that.
Okay. Well, considering it was built in the 1880s, probably some horse skeletons in the back, probably, and used as a firehouse. But there's nothing that indicates, I don't know of any surveys or anything that indicate any Native American activity in that part of Montclair.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that. I'd have to defer to someone else on that.
Okay. And do we have an item number 6, Tommy? Well, the next ones are close-ups of the exterior deterioration, correct? Oh, there we go. These are the items that you propose to salvage and use in the new facade, correct?
Correct.
And these are the number of.
Their existing location, lintel sills and the coins. And the idea for incorporating them into the new building is that the base of the building would be masonry, and that's where we would use most of the materials. The coins would be used on the corners of the stair tower, so that you have this masonry building wrapping around a newer type of construction. So you get a mix of the old construction and the new construction, and the masonry archery incorporated into the facade.
And just to be clear, this is a conceptual idea. This is not a finished rendering by any means of what you're proposing at the site.
Correct. It's showing the usage of the materials we want to save. That's the concept of how we want to employ them. The form of the building will most likely be similar to that. The arch, in all likelihood, is going to get relocated to the center of that facade on the ground floor,
where it would have been originally, correct? In order to facilitate.
In the center, correct.
Yeah,
exactly.
In order to facilitate a fire engine and horses. Okay, and just to be clear for the commissioners, we are not discussing the proposed building that will be put on the site. This is something that will come before us, but it's predicated on whether or not the demolition is approved. Can you continue, please, Tommy? I think there's more photos. There you go. Now you could just walk us through, Mr. Evers, these show.
Yeah, these are the coins that we hope to reuse. Anything that can't be reused when demolition is done, we can recreate. So we would recreate those things that are damaged or that fall apart upon demolition. But that's the coins that would be used on the stair tower. There's some of the window lintels
Mm-hmm.
and typical windowsill.
And what is that? What is underneath the paint? What is that made of? It's not sandstone, is it?
I believe it's bluestone.
Bluestone. Okay. So you have a combination of bluestone and is it a sandstone, a brownstone, or a limestone for the lintels?
On the lintels?
Yeah, it looks like a different material, a different type of stone. That.
It's likely a brownstone.
Okay. Okay, Tommy, are there any more?
And you mentioned that you're not discussing the new building, but the one aspect of the new building is, you had expressed an interest in preserving some elements of the building, and we're showing you that just to show that we agree with that. That's part of the intent of the
I think
building.
it's very important. All right, is there another exhibit?
That's the last exhibit. There is the existing floor plans as well that were submitted.
Okay, but I think we've got a sense of what the building, it's been the testimony of what the building's been used for, and we saw from the pictures. And Mr. Scattleberry wrote a really compelling letter. Do you have that, Tommy?
Unless that was included with the exhibits.
I think it was separate from the exhibits. Okay.
Let me, if it was included with the application, no, it was not. Sorry. So no, I do not have that.
Okay, so could you just go back? You just pulled, I think that was the beginning, that explained what the exhibits were. It was,
It's in item 2, Tommy.
It's in item 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
there it goes. Okay, because like I said, it was a compelling letter about the history of the post and the name of the post, especially these 4 men who were Montclair residents who died during World War I, first fighting with the French army, later with the French government. Later, a number of the members of Crawford Crew's Post 251 were part of the original Tuskegee Airmen during World War II. So I think there's no question that this is a very significant building and place. And I think that the sense of place is very important, and not only with the building on it, but the place the actual ground that it's on. So I would think that
the user of that site.
Exactly, and it's a continuation of the use of this site. And presently, they testify that or they say that Mr. Scattleberry says that the existing structure cannot meet the needs of the expanded mission for the post. Mr. Scattleberry, are you on? Would you like to add anything else to that?
Well, not really, but it is a ongoing post, and as Ms. Evers was talking about, we are getting new members. We are working with the community because we deal with the scouts, the schools, pretty well everybody in the town that needs help. We're here, but our main purpose as the American Legion is our veterans. We have to take care of them. They need a place to go just to sit around and talk. We talk about the VA hospital. They can go to it's not usually the medicine. It's sitting around talking with fellow military men and women. and it's a growing thing in every community. And we want to stay in front, as this community wants to stay in front of everybody else in helping our veterans. And hopefully this will be our main purpose throughout throughout our careers and our lives. And hopefully we can get everything done correctly.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other testimony that the group, you four would like to make?
Daryl, is there anything you'd like to say?
Is he muted? No? All right, so why don't we open this up for commissioners' questions? And we'll start with, where's my list? Mr. Hyman, do you want to start, please?
Sure. I have a question for Mr. Evers. You testified earlier about the economic infeasibility of rehabilitating the structure. And we talked about some of the physical constraints with the deterioration of the facade itself. Do you have any other details or information about the economics of the rehabilitation or the due diligence on the rehabilitation that you've done? You know, any quotes or price estimates?
Not for specific cost estimates. I can address the source of funds for that type of construction. The program that this is being done under, supportive housing for veterans, is specifically underwritten for new construction. So any renovation or rehabilitation or reconstruction would have to be funded completely on the shoulders of the post, which is, you know, it's a nonprofit. It's just not possible for them to raise that type of money. The federal government has made money available for projects like this. And in New Jersey, there's money, funds already in the pipeline for this type of project.
Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
So just to follow up on that line of questioning, Mr. Evers. So even preserving the facade would disqualify the project from those funds?
Not entirely from the funds, but from that portion of the building and any costs associated with that. So the increased costs of shoring that building, you know, any temporary connections, protection of the public, that would all have to be borne by the Legion, which is,
I see.
you know, would be an exorbitant cost for them.
So the state funds follow the same rules?
The federal funds follow.
I thought you mentioned that there were state funds available as well. Did I mishear?
There are state funds available, but the bulk of it, I believe, is federally sourced.
Would this did you apply for state funds for this as well?
Daryl can speak to that better than I can, if we could get him on.
It looked like his mic was not active, not that he was muted necessarily. It looks like I don't see a mic icon, so it doesn't look like his mic is active, unfortunately. But
so at this time we're not sure.
To get in, please feel free. There's also a call-in number you can call by phone. I can pull up the agenda on the screen so that you can see that. So maybe this time, maybe we can continue, and if Mr. Collins calls in, yeah.
They've already received some funding for startup costs from the state, American Legion, from the department at the state level. The federal funds are the funds that would be allocated for construction.
The state funds could not be used for rehabilitation or for preserving the facade?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you're pursuing housing dollars, right? Continuum of care funding. So your funding source is driving the need for a new building. Am I understanding that right?
That and the expansion of the mission, yes.
So is it that the building is, it's more that the funding to expand the mission and to provide housing is dependent on a new building rather than the lack of safety of the building?
Well, correct.
But Mr. Evers, don't you have another masonry expert that was going to testify to the, the structural unsoundness of what is existing?
Yes, Martha Brazoban.
Could you speak now?
Hi, good evening. Excuse me. So, during my inspection of the building, one of the things that we found is that a lot of the brick is spalled. You have this, excuse me. You have pieces of or sections of brick that have moved out of alignment. And this is all on the exterior. First of all, it's a common brick on both the exterior, the two sides of the building and the rear. And it's very deteriorated. It needs a full pointing job. And there are sections like the entire parapet would need to be removed and sections of the exterior wall. And you're talking about a multiple wide wall of brick. This is a solid brick wall. When you get down into the interior, you found it's particularly with the front portion of the front facade, it has actually detached itself from the structure. And that goes, you see the deterioration all the way down into the gravity foundation. So the reconstruction of the brick walls is extensive. It's not coming in and taking a piece of the wall and removing the brick, replacing it. We're talking about major portions of the wall where you're looking at, let's say, 80% of the wall would have to be replaced.
It had to be replaced?
Mm-hmm.
So it couldn't be repointed, it would have to be completely replaced.
Replaced.
I see, okay.
Does anyone else have any more questions of this witness? Specific to the masonry deterioration? No? Okay, why don't we then continue? Mr. Rooney, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. No.
And Ms. Rudman, would you like to ask more questions?
No, I'm complete.
And Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, they're mostly, and maybe it's a comment in the question, but I just wanted confirmation. The organization, a nonprofit, is committed to continuing its mission at the site, preserving the history to the extent possible, and will continue to own the new building that's put in place. That is what your objective and plan is. And
Yes, sir.
I just want confirmation. It's going to be torn down, but you will rebuild consistent with the mission and the history.
That's my understanding, but Terry, if you want to answer that also.
Yeah, that's really our mission. It's a combination of a lot of things. As I said, our main purpose is our veterans and their family, but it's also the community. And we want to keep the history up in that neighborhood of that post, because it was mentioned earlier about the 4 gentlemen that perished during World War I, the Tuskegee Airmen. But those are the past. We have to look forward for the future. And we have more and more veterans coming in, more and more veterans that have problems that we can face the issues with and work with them. And we need that space for them and to take care of our homeless veterans also.
Thank you. Second question, comment. Is the building now a blight in the area? in the immediate area.
Well, it's deteriorating badly, very badly. It has
Oh, we lost you.
I
Yeah,
think you're
lots of-
muted, Mr. Scantlebury.
It's the pictures appear to suggest that it's blight in the area, and then I have to ask: is there anything historically significant about the two adjacent buildings, the one on the east and one on the west?
Both those buildings were built post 2000.
Okay, they're new buildings, so okay. Thank you.
To answer
Those
your
are the-
question, Mr. Sweeney, the building is probably unique in anywhere on Bloomfield Avenue in terms of deferred maintenance.
Thank you.
And Mr. Gherkin?
No questions or comments.
I have a question. I thought it was very interesting, but it's not a question, it's a comment about the continuation of the mission, and that you will not, the Post will not sell this, that you're committed well, I would say to the neighborhood and the location. But my question is, why now are you what is the impetus now? Is it the funding? And I think this question was asked earlier, but in a different way, in a different manner. Why are you looking at this now?
So initially, over a year ago, it was a deferred maintenance issue that was brought to my attention by the town and by my conversations with Daryl and with Terry. And by happenstance, Daryl had attended a meeting with the Legion and became aware of this program that's being done in other cities, and they've completed one in Hoboken right now. It's supportive housing for veterans, and became aware of the funding vehicles that the federal government has put in place to facilitate construction of housing for veterans. So the timing was perfect. In terms of a program, a site, a need, and a mission, that's available for expansion and growth.
Thank you. And Mr. Reimnitz, you were there and visited and saw the deterioration within the building. What do you have any questions? Not comments at this point, but questions of.
I have no questions.
Okay. So Tommy, can we open it up to the public to see if there's any public questions, public comments?
Yes, let me see. We have one attendee who's not a panelist currently. I'm not able to unmute this attendee, so they can call in at the number that's on the screen on the agenda on the second bullet point. But their mic is inactive. I'm not able to unmute them.
Oh, Tom, is this a problem with our system, or is this a problem with?
In the meetings that I've been a part of the past, month, I've been able to unmute certain people. I think it depends on whether their mics are active or not. I don't think it's an issue of our system. I have been able to unmute people like Mr. Moranis, for instance. I was able to unmute him earlier. So I don't think it's a problem with the system. It's something that I can, it looks like we have a call in. I'm going to unmute this call and I'm able to do that.
Okay.
Hello? Whoever called in, please mute whatever other device you're watching the meeting on. Okay, we can hear you. The echo is still happening, so please mute your device.
This is Daryl Collins.
Oh, hello, Daryl. If you're watching this on your computer, can you please mute your computer? Or TV?
You have to turn the sound off too, because it's going to come through your microphone.
Okay.
There we go. We can hear you. You can speak, and there's no more echo.
Okay. What I wanted to say, the question was asked a minute ago of why we decided at this particular time. Just like Jim was saying, we were having problems with the building. It was deteriorating. And it's just the right timing for it at this particular time. So all the ingredients came in at the same time. We needed it. And what the state is doing is they renovating posts, different posts in their areas who's having problems. One of the posts we was talking about in Hoboken, where they were suffering from Sandy. They got flooded out, rebuilt it back again. They got flooded out again. So the system got together with them and rebuilt them a post. We have several other posts we working with in the state, one in Westfield, one in Lambertville, and South Amboy. So these are the things that the Legion in the state and the federal government is doing to help the posts. So this is what we're doing. One of the things I wanted to say that we were doing the last several years, I know you know MESH, Montclair Emergency Shelter for the Homeless. When the temperature got to 20 degrees and below, we had a relationship. They were staying at our posts overnight from 9:30 to 7 in the morning. This is what we do within the community. So this is why we need to do this to help continue to do what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Are there any questions for Mr. Collins? Oh, sorry, you're still on. Well, we can't do two things. Sorry. All right. Do you have anything else to say then?
No, if I just have questions, I have the answers if you have questions for me.
So do you have a confirmed commitment from the state for funding and confirmed commitment from federal sources?
Well, we have some commitment from a group that we working with, as well as we have to go out and do some fundraising of our own. So we have a pathway to get some funding as we go along.
So Monarch Housing Associates is the nonprofit that facilitates the funding for efforts like this.
I have a question.
I have questions too, Chair. When you get
Okay. Okay. So who spoke for? Oh, Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, I had a question. Just the program that you're looking to take advantage of that provides funding for this, does it have a requirement that you continue the ownership for a period of time after the project is complete?
I'm sure it does, but I could get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
And Miss Rubin?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So the VA housing program funds vouchers, does not fund construction costs, right? Which I would imagine would be significant. So I just want to clarify that, is there a plan for funding construction after this building has been demolished?
I'm sorry, is there a what?
A plan for funding construction? I'm not hearing that there's a funding source identified.
Yeah, Monarch Housing is the source for the construction funding, and we've had meetings with them already. The VASH program that you referred to, that's the housing vouchers that the actual residents would use and pay for basically the construction.
Okay, yeah, so you're telling me, so Monarch Housing, just for full disclosure, I work with them too. They have secured financing for this project?
They haven't secured financing yet because we don't have approval, so we're not far enough along. We are doing preliminary work with them, and we've done square foot estimates for the cost and the approximate amount of the budget. But we need to get through these, this commission and through the planning board before we'll actually secure financing. If there's some type of commitment or other information I can get you, I'd be happy to get you from Monarch Housing or put you in touch with the director there. They've done 8 units. I'm sorry. They did 8-unit project in Hoboken, and they just broke ground on another 21 units right next door. The same nonprofit is doing that it would be the one that would be used for this project.
Mr. Evers, in addition to approval for the demolition from the HPC, what other approvals would you need to secure the construction funding?
I don't, we would need the planning board approval. I would have to speak to Monarch again to find out what sequencing they would issue a commitment letter, a loan commitment prior to actually funding. I could find that out from them also.
Any other questions for before Tom gives us his opinion? No? Okay. Mr. Connolly, can you tell
Sure.
us?
I'm gonna read from a majority of my report, not the whole thing, but
Okay.
it's important. And I reviewed this application based on the our demolition ordinance. So the proposed project / potential demolition of a historic resource is being reviewed according to the standards set forth in 347-137A and 347-142.D 2 and 3, and the standards set forth in 36 CFR 60.4 entitled Criteria for Evaluation, as promulgated by the U.S. Secretary of Interior, which is adopted and incorporated by reference in Article 23 of the Historic Preservation of the zoning ordinance. I'm going to skip the history because we've already discussed the history of the town center historic district and the building itself. And I'll just jump down to the project comments. The information provided by the applicant appears to be complete according to the checklist provided and consists of a summary letter of the reason for demolition and photographs of the existing conditions. The owners, the American Legion Crawford Cruise Post 251, have owned the property since 1944. A building was originally constructed on the site in 1887 as a fire station for the Washington Hose Company No. 3. The building was constructed in the Italian Renaissance style and has been modified since its original construction for its conversion to the American Legion. 251 or 210 Bloomfield Avenue is articulated in Italian Renaissance style with a first floor level of painted rusticated brick, rustic stone coins distinguishing the second floor level, and heavy rustic stone lintels at the first floor openings on the front, and smooth painted limestone lintels and sills at the openings on the side elevations. The parapet is distinguished by corbel brick. A bracketed cornice has been removed. The engine bay at the first floor has been primarily infilled. The second floor center opening has been infilled with newer windows, but the brick segmental arch was retained. The roof is set behind a parapet on the side walls and are typically of brick construction with random placement of windows and doors to reflect interior uses. There is a narrow stair enclosure on the east side of the building, set a few feet back from the front facade, which abuts the sidewalk. The criteria for evaluation are set forth as follows. And this jives with the demolition ordinance, the letters here. So A, per the historic record, the building was constructed in 1893 as a firehouse and converted to the American Legion in 1944. 210 Bloomfield Avenue is listed as a key building, American Legion in the Town Center Historic District, and is specifically mentioned in the Town Center Historic District Expansion Nomination Report of 2004 for its association with the history of the African American community in Montclair. The building is also designated as a local historic landmark. B, the proposed plans will incorporate both affordable housing for homeless veterans in Essex County and permit the American Legion to continue its community functions within a new building incorporating elements of the original building, such as the rustic stone lintels and other features. C, according to the local historic landmark nomination, the Crawford Cruise American Legion Post 251 has been associated with significant events related to the evolution of Montclair's community since its construction as it relates to government services as a fire station and as a community space memorializing 4 Montclair youths who gave their lives in defense of the defense of America in World War I. All 4 men served and died under the French flag in French uniform and serving the French army and received recognition from the French government. The American Legion has served the Montclair community in these men's honor since 1934 and in this structure since 1944. The building is also widely known as a local community resource. D, the building has been altered, particularly the front facade, since original construction, but its original use remains evident in the fenestration pattern and hints at previous openings through the retention of masonry openings and recesses within these openings. E, reconstructing the building for a new mixed-use affordable housing and American Legion / community use may better serve the citizens of Montclair given the poor condition of the building. Lacking affordable housing component today and the limited use of the site by the American Legion, the proposed improvements would help make Montclair a more attractive and desirable place to live. F, although part of the larger town center historic district, which runs along Bloomfield Avenue from Pine Street to Valley Road, the building is located between several non-contributing resources and across Bloomfield Avenue from a late 20th century housing development. G, based on the description of conditions supported by the photographs and a visit to the site by our office, it appears the building is in poor condition and rehabilitating would be a major undertaking as a front facade has essentially pulled away from the building's floor and wall framing. H, the building is in poor enough condition that parts of the facade could potentially dislodge from the wall and hurt pedestrians. The Montclair Building Department has denoted the building as an unsafe structure due to the poor condition and structural unsoundness. The masonry load-bearing facade has been constructed out of a single width of brick and has not been tied to the floor joist or the floor diaphragm to resist horizontal thrust caused by the arches, floor joists, and rafter ends. This former construction represents an inherent structural deficiency. Analytical methods for determining the forces, these gravity forces, did not come into common use until sometime in the late 1880s. Although there is an agreement that structural rehabilitation is not feasible, these should be conditions placed on the applicant to document the existing building and plan elevation for the historic record, and to note on the existing elevations that the proposed elevations, the locations of materials that will be reused in the new construction. And these plans should be reviewed by the HPC as part of the review of the new mixed building. J, the building currently cannot be used by the American Legion for the community-based activities as noted in the items G, H, and I above. Rebuilding is the best possible option for this charitable organization. And then it is, in my professional opinion, and based on the application and in-field visits, that the application adequately substantiates the need to remove the building based on the review criteria for total demolition set forth in the Montclair Code 347-142.1E3H to I, with conditions of documentation and designation of salvage material to be incorporated in the design of a new mixed building, as noted in item I above. That was a lot, but I think it was important.
Yes, there was, to read into the record. Thank you, Tom. Does anyone have any questions of Tom's report, of Tom and what he's written in the report? No? Okay. Before we go to discussion amongst commissioners, I just want to go over the related submission materials that the applicant had to, was required as the applicant is required under Montclair Code 347-142.4.2. So there's there's 6 categories. And the first one is complete photographic record of all exterior elevations, interior spaces, and details of all existing structures and any adjacent properties pertinent to the history of the structure or surrounding neighborhood. I think we had a few photographs I think that could be expanded. Number 2, statement of the need or purpose for the proposed total demolition, which was testified to. In any instance where there is no claim of no other alternative to total demolition, the applicant shall provide written documentation of good faith efforts. This is the part that they have requested a waiver. Number 4, written and pictorial record of the building's history and architectural features for archival purposes. Tom spoke to that, and I think that could be expanded. We need more original documents, maps, drawings, and photographs, which would include the important African-American focus of this particular legion. And architectural study, they said that Mr. Evers testified that nothing had been done and didn't know if there was any significance to that part of Bloomfield Avenue for architectural study. And as we saw, preservation or salvage of architectural elements that will, and photographic documentation. I think that we need a little bit more of that if this demolition goes through. So, but they have you know, answered these, maybe not to the sufficient that we would like to see, but they have been answered. So now why don't we go to commission discussion, and we start with Mr. Rooney. What you think about the application for demolition of the structure? If you're for it, opposed to it, what are your thoughts?
My sense is it satisfies all the criteria and it's persuasive. The little bit of history that can be preserved would be preserved. The use of the building is gone. They'll have to, a new building will provide proper use. It will be a structure that will be more in character with what exists there. It will be, keeping it there is just asking for more risk. The report was very persuasive. Mr. Connolly's report, it covered every point that you would think of. And the only thing that I would just like simply to show that we've done our due diligence is the verification of that they will continue the ownership of the property, they intend to replace it, and that the program that they're going to be applying for has conditions on the continued ownership of the by the party receiving grants. But overall, I'm fully in favor of granting it.
And Mr. Hyman?
Yes. So piggybacking on what Mr. Sweeney said regarding some assurances of the continued use by the Legion, I have a question for Mr. Evers. As a requirement of the federal and/or state funding, are there any requirements to have a deed restriction recorded?
I don't know, but I could get you that answer.
Okay.
Deed restriction regarding the continued ownership?
regarding continued ownership, limitations of use, similar to what is required in the affordable housing context to ensure that those units stay affordable.
Absolutely.
If there are any restrictions on the use of or even sale of the premises.
I could find that out.
Okay, thank you. Again, Mr. Connolly's report was thorough and persuasive. I do believe that based on what was presented, while it is a very historic site, the history is from the use of the site, not necessarily just the architectural elements of the building, and keeping the Legion on site, promotes the purposes, I think, of this commission. So to the extent that this building cannot be rehabilitated or adapted for the ongoing use of the Legion, I think meets the criteria under the ordinance to allow this demolition. In terms of, conditions, I do agree with Ms. Bennett that there needs to be a bit more in terms of, photo documentation, preserving the structure before it's demolished. I also think an additional condition related to perhaps erecting a plaque or signage on the site, giving, not the full history that was presented in the exhibits, but a summation of the significance of this site, the significance of the Legion, and perhaps, a small, rendering of what the original building looked like on that plaque. I think that would be very beneficial and should be included as a condition.
To that point, Jason, when we were on site for the on-site visit, that did come up, and I'm glad you mentioned it because that should certainly be a condition, and they were in favor of that. So thank you.
We actually discussed a QR code that triggers an augmented reality guide that could give you the history of the post. So that might be the vehicle that we have for sharing more information with the public.
Okay, that's great. But Jason, just to clarify, the deed restriction, is that something that would be a condition if we vote for the demolition?
I mean, it could be. But my question was more of if that was a requirement of the federal or state funding.
Oh, okay. All right.
I also I don't believe that we can have conditions related to the new structure as part of the resolution to approve the total demolition.
Right. Good point, Tommy. Thanks. Mr. Reinmetz?
I agree with all my fellow commissioners in terms of their thoughts and ideas, and I think a plaque is a great idea. The only thing I could add to all this is I know Kathleen and I went over there and I crawled around in the basement, and the building is in really tough shape. So just from a structural architectural point of view, it's not salvageable from what I could tell. So I support demolition.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, did you, I know you had a question, but do you have anything else to add?
I think I agree with Mr. Hyman's point that having the VFW on site there to be able to continue its important mission is just as important, if not more so, than the building itself. I think that my one concern is that I want to know if before demolition we can make a condition that they do receive the funding to rebuild, because I don't think we want to see an empty lot there. Is that something that we can add as a condition?
Good point. Should we ask Mr. Burr or Tommy, what your opinion is of that?
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to voice an opinion unless it's a legal question, and if it is, can you repeat what the question was?
Yeah, the question, Mr. Burr, is if we can make the demolition contingent upon the securing funding for the rebuilding of the new structure. I mean, most of the applications before us are typically, developers or homeowners who have the funding to be able to rebuild. In this instance, they need this approval before they can obtain funding, but we don't know that they've met other conditions to obtain that funding. So I want to make sure that we're just not demolishing a building and then we have a vacant lot in that location.
I'm gonna say you can condition it, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'd probably have to do a little bit of research on that and get back to the board. But if you wanted to pass it on that condition tonight, or take a vote with the condition on it, I would say you could go ahead and do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I make a
Yes,
comment
Mike?
on that? If the statute, or rather the ordinance, sets criteria for evaluation on demolition, if it doesn't include the condition that the building be restored by an owner and used for the same purpose, I think we're really going overboard to do it. I had asked for it just as a condition, just so we know that we're relying on what the intentions are, and the intentions are preserving history, preserving the use of it, that will enhance the history and will preserve what we're trying to preserve, historical record and use.
Yeah, but if it's just demolished, Mr. Sweeney, and then there's no ability to use that site for anything, we're not preserving anything. We're not preserving the use, and we're not preserving the structure itself. So in my estimation, ensuring that there is funding to rebuild as they propose, I think that's an important aspect of this determination.
I think Daryl might be able to address that. Tommy, can Daryl be brought back up?
Yes, I would like to address that. Now, one of the things that is going on with this program is the government and the state and the Legion, they got us coming out to do this project. Now, and if they didn't think the project wasn't going to work or be funded, they wouldn't send us out to do so. We already have Hoboken is being done now. They had 6 units and they add on 18 more. Like I was saying, we have Lambertville, we out there working on that. Westfield, we have units that's coming up in Westfield. So this program is ongoing from the state of New Jersey and is working. So I wouldn't be real concerned about the lot gonna be blighted, because it's not. It's moving.
I respect that, sir, and I support generally the mission of what the state and the federal grants are doing. And I think if we were to condition it on the ability to secure the funding, I don't think that would hinder your ability to proceed with this project. I just think it would add a layer of protection to the township on the off chance that the funding fell through from the state or federal government for this project. I just think it would be a shame for the building to be demolished and then there just not be an opportunity to rebuild anything on that lot. That's all I'm suggesting.
I agree.
To continue the mission of the VFW on that lot. That's all I'm suggesting.
I agree.
Yeah, just to bolster what Mr. Graham was saying. So I looked at Hoboken. Hoboken was funded by HMFA through the state. The federal government only provides the vouchers. They don't provide construction dollars. And then there were four or five funding sources that were brought together, including a municipal investment in the Hoboken project. And all of these veterans housing projects have like 4 to 6 housing funding sources. So I think Mr. Graham is right that we really run a chance of allowing a building to be demolished without being confident that the funding, and HMFA runs out of funding every year. But normally their housing programs get oversubscribed. So I just think we need that assurance before we allow the building to be demolished.
Okay, great. Anything else, Ms. Rubin? No? And Mr. Grinkin?
No, I agree with everything. It would be nice to have some type of, even maybe not a full guarantee, but some guarantee that funding is in place before the demolition takes place.
Chair Bennett, just quickly, I just did some quick research.
Yes.
The board has the right to move, if you move to vote with a condition, that's permitted.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So it seems as though we have 2 conditions, photo documentation. Well, we have 3: photo documentation, photo documentation and written history, which would then be deposited at the library and at the Montclair History Center, and also be kept on site. Then an on-site, something on site that would speak to the history, whether it's a plaque or an interactive, something interactive, and then also a ensuring funding that if this gets approved, the demolition, if it gets approved, that the funding, I don't know how to word that exactly. I'll rely on Jason to do that. So, Jason, can you?
And reuse of the elements that are.
Yes, reuse the elements. So we have 4 conditions. So Jason, could you make a motion with those 4 conditions in place?
Sure. So I make a motion with the 4 to approve the demolition with the 4 conditions that Chair Bennett mentioned.
Can we get some kind of wording for that 3rd condition? Since I'll probably be drafting the resolution, I would like some verbiage if possible. Relating to the guarantee of funding.
Does it have to be a guarantee, or could it be sufficient to have the application filed for funding?
A commitment, a loan commitment.
How about a condition that the actual demolition not occur until financing for the project is obtained through federal and state sources, sufficient to cover the cost of reconstruction of, the proposed plan.
I would just add private donations to that, but yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So demolition not occur until funding is secured or insured?
Federal, state, and or private funding.
Or at least commitment to funding, I think is fair.
Federal, state, or private funding. Demolition not occur until a commitment of federal, state, or individual private funding is secured.
for,
For the total project?
What's that?
For the total project?
For the construction, maybe?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for the construction.
So funding is
Yes.
secured for the construction of the project.
okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so the motion is, Jason, have you made that motion? Yes, I think the motion is on the floor.
Second.
Second.
So Tommy, could you call a roll, please?
Tommy, are you on mute?
Sorry, I was on mute. Who seconded that?
That was me, Mike.
Okay. Yes, I will do a roll call vote now. Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Heinman,
Yes.
Mr. Rooney,
Yes.
Mr. Reimnitz,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Greenkin,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Ms. Rubin.
Yes.
Oh, actually, Ms. Rubin, I'm sorry, you're not eligible to vote on this because the other 7 members are present.
Oh, they are? I didn't know. Something.
Yes, so we'll just strike that. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Okay, so that is 7 yeses.
Oh, okay, so you'll get all the official documentation together and send it over to Mr. Scattleberry or Mr. Evers, correct? You have to wait, you'll send that to them, and then when do we think we'll get an answer about the funding? We probably won't know that, right?
I can get it
How this will play out.
as soon as I can. I'll get you those answers regarding the funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll
It
see.
won't be long. It won't be long.
We'll see you, the next round will be, we'll look at what, at the building, what you actually propose to build. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. It's an exciting project, and we're very happy to take this next step.
Great, thank you.
Best of luck, Mr. Evers, yeah, and everyone.
And thank you again. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
So with that, we are ready to adjourn. Our next meeting is February 10th. All those lovely people that volunteered for committees will be in touch, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. And thank you,
Motion to
Tommy.
adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Byrne.
Have a
Yeah,
good
motion
night,
to
everybody.
adjourn.
Have a good night.
All
Move
right,
to adjourn.
all right. Good
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.